What's going on, everybody? Hello, welcome to this incredibly special. Typically, we talk about movies here on the channel, but tonight we're talking about HBO's, I almost said AMC, HBO's incredible series, The Last of Us. It is a phenomenal show adapted from 2 video games, but specifically this first season, we're all aware, is adapted from that first video game that came out on the PS3, then got remastered for the PS4, and I don't know if it's on PS5. We'll ask one of our highly intelligent guests tonight. So, and here's Haley.
Hi.
Wow.
Ooh.
What?
I just noticed that the mics were different.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
I don't know. They just are. All right, so let us not dilly-dally because one of our guests can only be here for a limited time, so we don't want to dilly-dally tonight. So we're going to be bringing in the guy who introduced me to all this stuff. If it wasn't for him, I don't know that we'd be doing this tonight. So let us bring in this is a returning guest. Everybody in this little panel tonight is a returning guest, but tonight we're bringing in Mr. Michael Ponarelli.
Hello.
What's going on?
I'm living life. I'm ready to talk about one of my favorite things.
Yes, and you introduced me to this, and so I thank you for that. If it wasn't for you, like I said, I don't know. Maybe we might be doing this still, but I don't know. I wouldn't have been as hyped for it, put it that way.
No, it makes me really happy to hear that. Glad we can spread the love.
Yeah. And we actually played The Last of Us Part 2 a little bit when we hung out in Florida about a year ago. It's way on the channel, way back. It's in a video. So if you guys want to check it out, go check it out. The other guest, who is a returning guest with Mikey, is not in the green room just yet. He did say he was going to be late, so whenever he pops in here, we'll allow him in. But we're also going to be welcoming someone who is another fan of the show. He's been very, very vocal about this on his channel. And he is actually having his own stream this coming Saturday, which, funny enough, we'll be on. So
that's funny.
He's on ours, and then we're going to be on his. So hopefully we don't repeat too much of the same stuff here. But let's bring in James.
Hello. How are y'all doing?
We're good. How are you,
and Mikey? Doing great.
Yes, James, this is
Tuesday
Mikey.
night.
I don't know if you've ever met Mikey or not.
Mikey? I have not. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Good to meet you, James. How are you doing?
Good to meet you. Doing great. Looking forward to talking about this amazing TV series, man. I mean, wow.
You guys need to talk first because it's tough for me to stop. So,
well, let us also bring in, because he just popped into the green room. So let's bring in, this is the guy who's late to the show, but nevertheless, it's Phil.
I made it.
Yeah.
Sorry I'm late. Work sucks.
All right. So everybody's here. Everybody, we're ready to talk, and we're not going to dilly-dally because James is on a limited time schedule tonight. So we're going to try to get as much in as possible. So we kind of have a, I don't know what you do, like a schedule to this. I have some reviews from IGN. I'm sure we're all familiar with that website, IGN.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And they've actually done really cool reviews for every single episode, and they put them in like little pictures that I downloaded, and they're gonna pop up on the screen. I'll read each review. Maybe we'll take turns. And then we're going to talk about each episode, and that's the way the format's going to go. And we'll get into the chat as well. But we're going to start with this very first episode right here. This is the premiere episode for The Last of Us, episode 1. It would have been nice if they put the title of the episode. I just realized that.
Yeah, it would have been.
It is what it is. And I think that 9 down there is the grade that IGN gives it out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But if you look very closely, it says HBO's The Last of Us episode 1 thrillingly lays the foundations for the emotional torture ready to hurt us along every step of its journey. Unrelenting for most of its lengthy runtime, it's crucially always entertaining, even as new information is thrown our way at top speed. Yeah. So, Mikey, we're going to start, and we're going to do this like kind of how we did it. So Mikey, then James, then Phil, and then we'll conclude with anything we have to offer. Mikey, what did you think of the pilot episode?
I'm gonna be redundant this whole podcast. It was great.
I know.
No, I guess the shortest way I'll describe my many feelings about this is in the game. It's kind of easy to connect with Sarah very quickly because you, the player, are controlling her. So that's the beautiful medium of video games. It allows you to kind of form this very, very like real empathy with your character. And I think the show did an amazing job of letting you see more aspects of them as a family and Sarah in her own day-to-day life. And that gives the audience of the show that same ability to like understand her, grow to love her, and then get their hearts broken.
Yes.
So
Yep.
amazing.
James.
Yeah, I really love how they set up the series, and you know, I overall my feelings on this series is just I just feel I'm still processing how I feel about it, but I just love it, because, of course, I played both of the games. So I have that connection having played the games and having that experience. But then there's people who will never touch a PlayStation controller, but they now have this that they can enjoy this TV series, who will never play a video game, right? So there's two different ways you can enjoy it. And of course, I have a sort of a preference, having played these games and being immersed in the experience of playing them. It's just a completely different thing. But I think they did a great job, adapting it to TV. And I love the way they opened it with, with this first episode, and on those IGN reviews. I've been reading those for years when I was playing a lot of games like The Last of Us, and a lot of times to avoid spoilers, what I would do with IGN reviews is just go straight down to their number to see, okay, is it a 10? Is it a masterpiece? Is it 9 for amazing? Is it 8 for great or whatever? Just to see, the general read of how good do they think it is. So, but yeah, I might love IGN.
Yeah.
Especially
Phil.
when Greg Miller and Colin were there.
Yep.
I loved the first episode. I remember just watching it and just geeking out because it was like almost shot for shot. And even then, there was like some new stuff in there. Like I love the scene with the plane coming and crashing down. Like, it's so intense. And it's like, even though I've played the game, I knew what was coming, but I still felt like, what's next? What's going to happen? Like, it's crazy how they did it. Like, it's just, love it.
It's funny because, like, in retrospect, like, I can praise the first episode, but on my initial viewing of it, I was skeptical and almost kind of pessimistic, because I'm the kind of person where it's like, if you're adapting something, I'm one who does want like it to be as faithful to the source material as possible, because I initially saw this as a cash grab. So I was like, yeah, the Last of Us is so popular. Of course they're going to make a TV show out of it. And I like, whereas like The Walking Dead game, like Telltale Games versus The Walking Dead show, two completely different things. You can't even compare them other than it being in the same title. Or so as when I found out that this was going to be pretty akin to the game, I was like, all right, you better not do it dirty. So I watched this episode and I was like, obviously I liked it enough to watch the second one, but I was like, okay, all right, we'll see. I don't know. I was going in with low expectations.
Yeah.
And needless to say, I was decently pleased.
See, this episode is it's a very strong pilot episode. And I'm gonna constantly, and this might upset some people, but I'm gonna constantly be referring back to The Walking Dead just because I feel like that's the closest that you can compare what The Last of Us is similar to. And if I don't know if anybody here is really truly familiar with the pilot episode of The Walking Dead, I understand it's like two totally different things, but just based off of that, I think that this one suffers a little bit because of what Phil said, how it's almost quite literally shot for shot. And I think it's like that because Mikey or anybody, let me know, didn't the guy who did the video games, he directed that episode? Yes,
he did.
Yeah,
Neil Druckmann. Yeah.
I lost track of which episodes. Was that the only one Neil directed?
Oh, I don't even know that.
I'm not sure which ones he directed, but I know he's heavily involved in this TV series. And of
I mean,
course,
he's
at Naughty Dog.
artistically been, yeah, him and Craig have been like intertwined the whole way through, but I don't know which ones he directed.
I'm pretty
not
sure he
sure.
did that first one at least, and I
Okay.
feel like,
Okay.
and I feel like it's because of that it's quite literally like, even to the point where when Phil was talking about the airplane sequence, I literally, and I've felt this throughout a majority of the show, but it almost does feel very video game like with the shots, and they even do the similar shot where you're in the car, or like the truck or something, and like you're moving around in the truck and like that's what you do in the game. And for me, it was distracting, and it was like, oh, like I've done this before, like I've lived this. Where's the surprise? And I thought they were going to do something with Sarah to like keep her going through the series. And then of course they do the thing that we're all familiar with, where he's holding her and the guy comes over, follows his orders and shoots them, and she passes away. And it was emotional. Don't get me wrong. Pedro just killed me in that scene.
Broke down.
But I couldn't have, but like I couldn't escape this feeling of, man, I've seen this and I knew what to expect going forward. So this is actually my least favorite episode of the show.
Okay.
Going forward, I think every episode is superior.
Okay, that's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes me wonder. Like, I wondered, how people who haven't played the games, I've always wondered what their perspective is watching this series. Because I'm looking at it from the standpoint, and we're looking at it from the standpoint of having played the game, and how faithful is it to the game, and where does it depart, and what new things is it bringing to the table. And I think Phil made a great point that they did bring some new things in the TV series, giving some background, like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Some of the backstory that we didn't see playing the game, which I thought was interesting. And so, yeah.
I want to say that like all the characters are pretty similar to their video game counterparts. However, I thoroughly enjoy the complete 180 they did for the casting of Sarah. Like, she's like this little blonde hair girl in the games. And Sarah in the show, she's darker skin, sort of like Pedro. She has like that big fro. And honestly, I just think she's cuter. I don't know. I like, don't get me wrong, love Sarah in the game, but something about like how bubbly she is in the show and a little more time that you get to spend with her.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, how did we feel about the and I forget if this happens in the game. No, it does. It does. Like the 20-year time jump from that moment that it ends with Pedro and I forget the name of the actress, but we'll say
Bella.
Sarah and Joel.
Sarah. Oh, sorry, I forget who Sarah is. Yeah.
And then it jumps 20 years. So there's there's a big gap.
Chunk,
Yeah.
Did we all go, okay, cool?
I was like, oh, that's this year. Cool.
Okay,
Yeah. They have the same time jump.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Did it take place in 2023 in the games, or was it set 10 years back?
It was Outbreak Day in the game was 2013, and they made this earlier, right? This was instead
2003.
Yeah, 2003 in the show, 2013 in the game.
Yeah, that's right.
Also, let's really quickly talk about that opening, which is I
wanted to bring that up.
Yes. Go ahead, talk about it.
That was so chilling watching it, because I don't know if anybody's seen Chernobyl, but I remember watching that and being like, this is Chernobyl.
Is that good? Is that good?
It's really good, yeah. And it's so simple, but so just the way it's shot and the actors' performances in it, it's just so chilling, and it's like,
oh wow,
it's intense. It's crazy, like the amount of stuff that happened just in that period for Chernobyl. Like, I didn't know anything about it prior, really. I just knew that it was a thing that happened, but everything that like happened before and then the days after is just like, oh my god, I can't even imagine going through something like that.
Yeah.
I found. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say just that opening scene was great. Like They did that so perfectly, and they did it with a few episodes afterwards too, where they had like the opening scene being like years prior.
Yep.
Yeah, I did like the time jumps, how they, with the different, like in episode 3 with the time, how they move with time.
Yep.
It's just with the whole Bill and Frank, and was
Mhm.
that his name, Bill and Frank? I
Yep.
think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, they used that time jump as a really nice storytelling device, and I was like, man, that Neil Druckmann, you the man. Whether it's The Last of Us or Uncharted, I mean, they're just like
Grade A
Yep.
storytelling.
Yep.
I was gonna say it wasn't until a couple episodes later that I found out that like the same like group of people
Behind Chernobyl
is
is behind The Last of Us.
behind The Last of Us, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. And I won't lie, it definitely weighed my bias more toward, okay, I'm more inclined to keep watching now than I already was, because I thoroughly enjoyed Chernobyl.
Yeah.
Now, what y'all think of the casting, like Pedro, and Bella, and Tess, and all the different characters? Did y'all feel like did they kind of miss on anybody, or did they nail everybody, in your opinion?
Mikey, take it away. Like this is your like Bible in a way, The Last of Us.
Oh, I guess I can save a conversation I thought I was going to have like for a later episode for now. And I'll say the best way I can describe how good I think these actors are is the show expands and adds in ways that I love. So funnily enough, the parts I love the most about the show too are the ones where I'm like, oh, I got to learn more about this person, or I got to see this new perspective. So when the scenes that I know are probably going to be beat for beat because they're the most important to the plot moving forward, I'm like, there's like I try to stay as like just in the moment as I can when I watch, but that part of my brain's like, oh, here it comes. And they're so good that when it came, they put me back in it. They make me immersed again because I'm not thinking really so much anymore. Oh, I remember when Ashley or Troy did this. I'm like, they're selling me because they're bringing their own vulnerability, like their own emotions to the table, and they throw it all out for us. And oh my God, I mean, I've cried like so many times through the show just because I believe them every time. That's me, though. I think they're incredible. Every person on this cast.
Yep. Yeah. We'll talk more about it as we go. Because I kind of want to try to get as many episodes in before James has to leave.
Also, Bella Ramsey's British.
Yeah, Bella Ramsey is British. All right, so on to episode 2, and we notice IGN gave it the exact same score, a 9. And this one, would you like to read this one?
Sure.
Okay.
The Last of Us opens up the horrors of its world for all to see, but not before showing us the terrifying nature of its inception. Pedro is it Pascal or Pascal?
Pascal, I think.
Pascal. And Bella Ramsey continue to grow into the shoes of Joel and Ellie, while Anna
Torv? Yeah, Anna Torv.
Gives Tess a standout end to her short but sweet story.
Spoiler alert.
Well, okay. I hope if anyone's watching this, they've seen the entire show. So, Mikey, take it away. Episode 2. What'd you think? Was it an improvement over 1, or?
This one felt very close to the game for me, that it was actually making me notice it more often, even like some of their talking while they were walking to their destinations. Oh, but I take that a little bit back, because this is where they introduced like the mind neural network that right? Am I correct? This is where Jill talks about it. And that was a great way to keep the actors' faces on screen, because people aren't having to wear gas masks, because that was the equivalent in the game, was that there were like spores that people had to be careful of when they moved through certain areas. So instead they're like, well, we can't do that because then we're covering up our beautiful actors. So instead we'll create this kind of new, interesting way that this infection interacts. And I thought that was cool. Anna's actress did amazing.
Now she's actually Tess in the video game, yes?
I actually thought that and I was wrong. There's like, I think it's Annie who's in the game, Annie Wershing, and she unfortunately has passed away.
So who is this character? Because I thought she was from the video game, or like she had a connection to the video game, the one that played.
That's the Marlene character who's also in the video game.
Yeah.
Yeah, the actress who plays Marlene in the series played Marlene in the video game as well.
So Tess is totally different.
totally
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's basically it for me. I thought that episode achieved what it needed to achieve to keep Joel going, because Tess is the only reason he would have ever agreed to do this.
Mm-hmm. James, any thoughts on episode 2?
Yeah, another great episode. I think, was this the episode where we got the flashback to 20 years to when back when that scientist in India, or was it? It wasn't India. It was an Asian country where they went back to the scientist, and she was talking about or discovering the early stage of the disease, and like, wow, there's no cure for this thing. And I think that was episode 2.
I think
had
so,
to be, because that was before 3 was the Bill and Frank episode. So I think that was episode 2 where we got a glimpse of okay, this was like 2003, the days leading up to it, the first infections, the scientists, what they were finding out. So, you know, a lot of that backstory that we didn't see in the game, you know. So I really, really dug that.
Phil?
Episode 2, I liked it because that was the first introduction of the clickers, and that was like what everyone was really looking forward to. And seeing them on screen was kind of surreal and super cool.
Right?
The part that gets me the most for that episode was the way it ends. I remember it was just so unsettling seeing the one infected come up to Tess and just the mouth kiss.
Makeout scene.
Haley was
Hated
like,
it.
Haley was audibly like just saying, oh.
Was I, Haley?
Me too.
Oh my god.
So I got like chills all down my like whole body just watching. I was like, that's so wrong on so many levels.
Like cooties or something.
Yeah.
Oof.
Now I was I guess a fun fact is the voice of the clickers in the game are the same voices in the show.
Love that.
So the people that voiced the clickers, like there's an actual like art to that. They brought them over for the show as well.
Oh wow.
So
How'd you even make that noise?
I'm sure there's like some post-production stuff that goes on. I'm sure there has to be some post-production, but I just thought that was really cool because like you don't think like they would even do that. You would think they would honestly just recycle the sound effects. But they didn't. And I totally agree.
Well,
seeing the clicker for the first time, that was really because they knew that's why they didn't show them in the first episode. They wanted to build that anticipation.
Although there was one hidden at the very last bit of the first episode. You kind of like, and when it's like doing the zoom pan out, right, it shows like the whole city. You can see one when the lightning strikes, like up on top of one of the buildings.
Interesting. I didn't see that.
Yeah, James, you definitely reminded me of the beginning with the whole like backstory, like flashback to 2003, because that opening was sort of what like made me switch gears in my brain. Because like when I was so pessimistic about,
Mikey, he'll be back.
Because I was on board because of it being The Last of Us, but because I was worrying about like how faithful it was, I guess I didn't really, think about, well, maybe this could be its own entity for people who don't necessarily play the games. And seeing that opening where it's like, this wasn't in the games, maybe this is like, that really made me separate it. Like, take the source material for what it's worth. But it's like, all right, this could be something new. This is new and fresh.
What I missed, guys? I'm so sorry.
Oh, I was talking about like how the opening for episode 2 really like made me switch gears and go,
oh, sure. Go on.
Like, this isn't like, I shouldn't be comparing it as much to the game as I should be or, would have be. But consider it its own entity in itself. Like basically
Mm.
like an alternate universe, same thing,
Yeah.
multiverse.
A
Yay.
multiverse.
Yeah.
And that really was like, all right, like all right, game on. Like,
Yep.
let's see, like obviously I knew like the end was gonna be like the end result is gonna be the same, but it's like the journey is more important than the destination. So it's like, how are we gonna get there? And that's where I was
Yeah.
like, all right,
yeah.
let's go.
hmm
So 3.
Absolutely.
All right. Now I know we're nearing the end of James's tenure here on the stream, so we got to squeeze this one in. We got to squeeze this one in because this is, I think, do we collectively agree this is potentially the strongest episode? The next one,
This is my
episode
favorite.
3?
Probably.
James, do you want to
so.
go first since you're, kind of more pressed
Oh,
for time?
sure.
Yeah, how about you take it away?
Yeah, I mean, episode 3. What did they rate it on IGN? A 10, probably.
There you
Yeah,
go.
masterpiece.
Oh.
I mean, and this is a really. I mean, I think this was probably the best episode in the season among a lot of great episodes. I mean, it's sort of comparing great to great because you see other episodes are mostly 9s across the board, and this is a 10. And I think there's so much that makes this episode so amazing in the sense of if you played the games, you are familiar with the character Bill, and you sort of know the interaction that Bill had with Joel and Ellie in the game, but it's different in this TV show. You really get a lot more of Bill's backstory. You really get to know more about who Bill is, and I think if I remember in the game, I think Frank is he we don't see much of him, or maybe he's only spoken about. I don't remember
No,
that detail.
he in the game he was actually like they actually hated each other.
Okay.
And I don't know. I don't remember if it's like something you specifically have to find or if it's something that if you look around you can find, but you can actually find like a letter and it's a suicide note
Okay.
from Frank. So
Okay.
a huge difference.
Okay. So, that's where they depart a bit from, further game. And I really appreciated those areas where they didn't just follow beat by beat. And I
Yeah.
kind of appreciated that because for those of us who play the game, it gives you something a little different and gives you a reason to, to sort of be engaged. Whereas if they just were 100% beat for beat to the game, I would still be in, but not as in as I was seeing the new stuff, seeing how they did more world building in this TV series and seeing how they sort of went in different twists and turns and gave me something the game didn't give me. But it was a great emotional story. I mean, how they built up to the connection of Bill and Frank and, you know, it was very emotional, very deep. As you got toward the end of the episode, they do a little thing where they kind of give you a little misdirection, in terms of the wheelchair, who's in the wheelchair, and versus who versus who you would have thought would have been in the wheelchair, and just sort of seeing how the characters um, basically go out on their own terms, and I love just to set up with you have Joel and Ellie at the beginning of the episode. Then you have this very fascinating story with Bill and Frank that makes up the meat of the episode. And you get invested in their characters. And then the episode ends where it should end with the characters that we're really following, Joel and Ellie. But during the Bill and Frank period, you see, Joel and Tess interlace. You get to understand how they connect with Joel and Tess, and I just thought it was very well done with the time jumps and just the whole evolution of Bill. This this survivalist, in 2003, and what became of his character. You just learn more about who he was, and it was just very fascinating.
Yeah, the
Very well done. I walked away from the episode thinking, wow, that was one of the best episodes of television I've ever seen, and I think it might have been the longest episode. It was about a feature length film, is what it was. It was about an hour and 20 minutes.
yeah,
So,
yep.
I mean, they packed a lot into that episode of television. So it was like a mini movie.
Yeah. And funny enough, the only history I have no history. I don't know who Frank is, the actor who plays Frank. I've never seen him in anything previously, at least that I'm aware of. When it comes to Bill, Nick Offerman, the only thing I had ever seen him in that I was truly aware of, he played the lieutenant in 21 and 22 Jump Street. I don't know if anyone else remembers that. He's that like very straight faced, he's just like, I think there's a scene where Jonah Hill comes into the office and he has like a scratch on his elbow and he's like, oh, come here, let me see that. And he flicks it. He's so perfect in that role of the lieutenant. And I was like, okay, so we're going to get him in this show. And I'm thinking of him as like a comedic actor. And he 180'd the hell out of me in this episode. Like, I didn't know he had that in him. And another fun fact I love to hear is that his wife persuaded him to take this role, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
He was on the fence about it, I think. And his wife was like, because she understood what The Last of Us was. She was like, you're getting on a plane and you're going to you're going to Canada. So
yeah. And he looked the part. He was perfect.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Yep. But I don't want to keep you any longer, James. I know you said 11 to 11:30, so I want to honor that, and just want to say thanks for hopping on here for.
Thank you for having me.
However long you could, and I look forward to being on your stream so we can maybe continue the talk. So
yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and everything, and great meeting you, Mike, and Phil, but yeah, The Last of Us, just awesome. Just enjoy it so much, and I appreciate y'all having me, and look forward to seeing y'all Saturday night.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you then.
All right, see you later.
Hi, James.
All right, and then there were four. Sorry, but three screens. Three screens. All right, so Mikey, episode 3.
Want to read the thing?
Well, I popped it up. So
it's gonna bother me.
It's gonna bother you.
Yeah.
All right, we'll read it.
Go ahead, do your thing.
No, Mikey, you read it.
Oh, I read this. Oh, okay. The Last of Us Episode 3 shines a light on a chapter previously shrouded in resentment, instead offering two characters a brighter, happier time together. Nick Offerman and Murray? Probably Murray. And Murray Bartlett take on leading role duties with elegance, leaving an unmistakably beautiful mark on a typically harrowing show.
There you go.
I think that's a great description. And I say that specifically because so the point of this part of the story, right? And I feel bad I keep saying in the game this happened, in the show this happened, because I do want to say I think this show stands on its own 2 feet so well. But I can't help it. Narratively, the point of this part in the story is to what's really cool about the way the story functions is that when we go to these outside characters, the people that are not Joel and Ellie, it's often to change the relationship between Joel and Ellie, and positive, negative, or somewhere in the middle. When we get to Frank in the game, like this description says, he's resentful, he's bitter, and kind of like what Haley said with like the multiverse theory. What I love is this version, Bill's still stubborn. Bill still is kind of stuck in his ways, but the one in the game can't get past himself, and it creates a rift. The one in the show sees how much value there is in his partner, how much he loves him, how much it means to him, the purpose it brings to him. So he lets go, he compromises, he learns to change. And I love how we get to see it all the way up until, man, that end that made me break the hell down.
Yeah. Yep.
And it just reminded me of the people I love in my life, and like that's what the show's about, love. And so anyway, sorry to get to the final part of what I was saying. They leave in the game with Joel kind of taking the lesson when Frank, like we talked about, like his suicide that he has. Joel leaves like, oh, this is what happens when you care about people. They die. Because you screw up in some way. And like that's kind of the lesson he takes. It's like kind of like a warning to him. In the show, instead, it's this letter that he reads. And I thought it was great because it's almost the same lesson. He mentions hold on to the people you care about, and he mentions Tess, and then there's the reminder. Joel's like, "Well, I fuck up every time." So I don't know. It's cool. It's cool.
Phil, anything you would like to add?
I think everything was pretty much wanting to talk about has already been said. Yeah, Nick Offerman. I was not expecting to have such a dramatic hit from him because I know him from Parks and Rec. I mean, he's very like deadpan a lot, but
Yeah.
he has like a comedic side to him. But seeing him in this role, like you even still a little bit, you kind of see it. He's just kind of like he's an asshole, you know. He's stubborn. But seeing Frank's character come in and kind of like he opens up a little bit more with him, and it's just slowly that relationship building is just kind of is done beautifully.
The literally the only minor issue I had with this episode, which I think is because it's been listed as one of the greatest episodes of television already. I thought the way it quickly escalated from Frank falling into Bill's trap. He comes out, he goes in, he gets food from him, and then he gives him a shower, and then he plays the piano, and then they're in bed together. And I thought it was just a little too fast. I thought it was a little too quick. And I understand it's the apocalypse. There's a fungus going around. You don't know how long you have to live anymore. So maybe time doesn't matter in these situations. I don't know. Just for me, like that, like I had a hard time going, wow, that really escalated very, very, very quick.
I mean, I think it was not only just the fact of like it being the apocalypse and, you know, it's been a while. It's also just the fact of them being male, and that's also a lot harder to find. I'm sure, in the end times. So, I mean, take it while you can, I guess.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you don't know if this is going to be the last time you're going to bone someone or be boned.
And I mean, technically, for us, it was like maybe 30 minutes. For them, it was an entire day.
Oh yeah, a whole day.
A whole day.
Mikey, did you have any issues with that, or you're like, no, Eddie, you're totally wrong?
No, it's funny because I feel like I'm in like the middle here, like between some of what I'm hearing, because I got a smidge of what Eddie's talking about, and it's only because Bill is pretty guarded, so the walls came down pretty quick.
Yeah.
Like there's a certain level of vulnerability, even just to sleep with someone, that you kind of have to give. I didn't think it was written poorly, or
no.
I didn't think it was bad. I just was like, oh yeah, like it maybe it is just the loneliness. I mean, you live your whole fucking life in this town by yourself, and God, you finally find someone who like is willing to care about you, and maybe that's what it is. But I did think that for a second. I'm like, oh, we got past that point pretty quick.
Yeah, like I just would have liked maybe like like the sun rises or like it sets. It rises. We understand. Okay, next day, maybe even a week. Like they don't give us a little timestamp or anything. Like we just don't know. And then of course, somehow Bill and Frank are still interacting somehow. Like Frank was sent away. He came back. He's like, please, please. And then it goes there. And I'd be like, okay, cool. I get it. It was just weird that it was in that exact same day. It went from the hole to the house to the food to the piano to the bed.
Well, it's kind of like well, he even makes reference to like this isn't like a one night stand type of thing.
Yeah, and I like that. Like I like yeah. You're not literally just fucking me, are you? Like you're not just fucking with me.
That was a good conversation.
Yeah, I really dug it. Good.
I just want to address the elephant in the room first and foremost, because we didn't watch this as it premiered. We kind of like went a while and then went back, and then it wasn't until the very end where we watched it right as it came out. And so that left, like, I tried to avoid spoilers like at all costs. And I did a good job. But when this episode came out, literally all I heard on social media was, this is the gay episode. This episode sucks. Like, literally, it was nothing but bashing the episode. And I took it with a grain of salt because I'm like, okay, if it's a terrible episode, then that's obviously the first thing that people are going to say is that it's because it's the gay episode. And So I went in this and I'm like, that was all I knew, was that I knew it was gonna be the gay episode. And I was like, by the end of the episode, I was crying.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I was like, you guys are just assholes. Like, what the? I hate social media. I hate social media. I want to delete it all and go hide in a hole somewhere.
Mikey, I'm going to make you full screen here. I know you want to vent. Go ahead.
There is a difference. So funny. Go ahead, go, Ben. No, but seriously, I'll make it brief. But there is a difference, people, between being uncomfortable with a new idea, which let's face it, like we've been historically racist and homophobic and transphobic for so many years, and now we're making wonderful cultural and social movements and progress, and we're understanding each other more, we're empathizing with each other more. I love the direction we're headed as a society, but understand there's a difference between being uncomfortable, like resisting, and then there's a difference between spreading hate, I mean, that's it, just hate. And like you affect people when you do that. Just understand you don't have to be comfortable with it. No one's forcing you to be gay. You be whoever the hell you want to be. Just let people live their lives. Know that there are people outside of your understanding, and that's okay. You will be okay. I promise.
Correct. And other than that, it's like watching, like judging the episode for as it is an episode. It's like, it's a brilliant character study. Like, I so love the little glimpses like into the lives outside of Joel and Ellie, because it's like, obviously we all know the story of Joel and Ellie. We like, for people who played the games, we know. So it's like, I love seeing what other people in this universe, how they live. And like, it's just done so beautifully. And not to go back, but it's like, this episode, like, it's not like it's being shoved in your face, like it's like, this is gay. This is like, this is gay. It's just like, it's just two people living their lives in an apocalypse, and they just so happen to be, you know? And it's so funny because, and the show does it multiple times too, like diverging from the game and adding some new character traits to previous characters that didn't have said traits. Where it's like, I so love the little detail where it's like the no tread on me flag, and how he definitely would have been on like QAnon and stuff. And it's like, he's gay. I chuckled. I did a little haha to myself. Everything about this episode was perfect. Like, not saying it was downhill from here, but I honestly can't even make a little nitpick.
No. And anybody that has issues with that, it's like, did you not play the game? The game itself has stuff like this in it, and you love the game, like you love it. You know what I mean? You love the freaking game.
Do you not know who Ellie is? I mean,
and it's like, is it because it's the female gender that you're okay with, but when it comes to the male gender, you have real issues with it? You know, I'm just happy that they did it and they didn't shy away from it. Like they lingered, and you know what I mean? Like, I was like thinking, okay, they're going to do it and then it's going to cut. And no, it stayed there, man. It stayed, and I was entranced by the whole thing. So, Phil, go.
I was just gonna say that going into this episode, I was really like, I was looking forward to the whole back in the game. This whole section is like they go to the high school and they're trying to basically find the car battery to get the truck going. But I guess that's all just gameplay, but I was looking forward to like that huge fight scene in the gym with the bloater and everything. But then getting to this episode and seeing how it like progressed, I was like, okay, so it looks like we're probably not going to get that. I was waiting for it to go to the darker side where like they start like separating and, you know, things aren't working out, and it eventually goes into Frank's separation and eventual suicide. But it still didn't go with that, and I was pleasantly surprised, and I was all for it.
Yep.
One last thing before we go, because God, I could talk about this episode all night. But it shows a side of the apocalypse that you never see. I mean, this game is pretty unique in that pretty much like 99% of apocalyptic shows, games, movies, whatever, are set during the initial outbreak or not long after. Like The Walking Dead was, I mean, it took place over a span of years, but initially it was pretty much like not long after it first started. Same with like 28 Days Later, same with like Train to Busan. It all pretty much starts initially. Very, very seldomly do you see 10 years later, let alone 20, that the game depicts. So you don't get to see people live a long life happily and be able not die of old age, but die at old age, like having lived fulfilled, although being in an apocalypse.
Yeah.
So it's so nice. It's like a fresh, like, God, yeah.
It was refreshing. It was definitely refreshing. Like this
Yeah.
little bottle episode, like this little, if you
Yeah.
don't want to watch the whole show, you know, like if you have people out there, like friends, family, whatever, that are like, like the apocalypse, like I'm not in, you can be like, well, just, can you please watch episode 3? You know, just please watch that one for me,
Yeah.
you know? Also it was really cool seeing Joel. Like for some reason he felt like a guest star. Like I hadn't seen him, you know, like him sitting at the table just felt like, oh, this is cool. Joel's in this like it was weird, the feeling it gave me, but it was a good feeling. It's like, oh, there's Joel.
Yeah,
And
I was
Jess
definitely
too, even though like the last episode, we all know what happened.
Yeah.
Like seeing her at the table. was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh.
exactly. Yeah, like I love when they do that shit, when they just bounce around time and everything. Yeah, I mean, look, the way it ends, I literally I didn't have the tears coming down my face, but I had the tears in my eyes, and if I blinked a couple more times, they would have come down. So that's where it was for me. Mikey, I can totally see. Like, were you just bawling? You were.
I thought
bawling?
of my mom when he was. And I know that sounds weird because they're like, you know, they're romantic partners, but what I mean by that is when he's telling him his final wishes, I'm like thinking, man, like my mom has told me, like if something serious happens with her, like cancer, she kind of has an idea of how she wants to go and she doesn't want to suffer. And I was like, it breaks your heart to let them go, but you have to respect what they want. And that's where I went to immediately, and I was a wreck. It was a wreck.
Phil, were you bawling like a
Getting
baby?
emotional now.
I wasn't bawling like a baby, but I did shed some tears. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just so beautiful.
And you shed some tears.
But yeah, because I was thinking, like, you know, just spending 20 years with somebody that you deeply love, and it's almost Shakespearean, like poetic.
One of my favorite scenes was the strawberry scene when they found the strawberries, or not found, but like
That
when he
was
brought,
nice.
you know, Bill over, he was like, hey, like, come here. And they found the straw. Like, it was just the simple things, you know, it's those simple things. Plus I just love a
I can't
good
believe I'm
strawberry.
gonna cry right now just hearing someone talk about the episode.
I love a good strawberry.
Well, it's also like I actually enjoyed, because this show is pretty tasteful when it comes to showing violence or gore, even though for being like
Which I am very shocked about.
even for being
And
like
it is sort of
TVMA.
tame. Like, I honestly feel it's tamer than Walking Dead is.
That's true.
And Walking Dead's on AMC,
Yeah.
where they have limits.
Yeah, and there's a lot of places like where it'll cut, or it'll like cut away, or just show like off screen, like not so that you see it full view, but you could see the motion of the action. And sometimes I'm like, damn, like I kind of wanted to see some bloodshed, but the idea, but part of me was surprised, but also grateful that, like, because I feel like a show, not saying that The Walking Dead is lesser, but I feel like in The Walking Dead, you would have seen what was behind the locked door. Like, you would have seen them, but you never do. And except, like, you see what's behind the door, not the bed, but the window being open so that the air is being circulated and let out.
Which that window, Mikey, that's like a callback to the opening, like the title screen, right, of the game.
It was funny because didn't you make a post about this?
Maybe I did. I don't know.
Or maybe I saw someone else post this. I can't remember, but I didn't even catch that, and someone else did, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's
Like,
true.
You know how when you pop the disc in and it's on the menu to play or option?
No, I think you're right. I think that is kind of like a nod to the to the intro. Yeah, it looks just like it. Like when I looked back, I'm like, yeah.
But I think
Yep.
the not showing of them is all the more harrowing.
Yeah, no, like I'm happy they didn't go like like pan into the bed and there they are rotting or something.
Ugh.
Well, I feel like other shows or other movies would have.
Yeah.
Like just for the sake of look
Well-
what we can do.
Well, I'm a Walking Dead defender pretty much. So like I feel like depending on who the showrunner was, you know what I mean? Like maybe earlier in the seasons you would have. I feel like later on they got because they had some really good bottleneck episodes of The Walking Dead. Let's see who's joining us tonight. We've been ignoring the chat. Adrian, faithful Adrian. What's going on, Adrian? We got Judd. Judd has a question. Did you play the video game? Judd,
There's a game.
Judd, I
Game?
think it's safe to say we've all played at least the first game. We've all played the first game. Mikey's played every game. Phil's played every game.
They released a game. When did it come out?
And
When did it? When did it?
we have yet to finish
When did it-
part 2.
When did the game come out?
Yeah, we have.
I see
we have
that
yet to
steelbook.
finish part 2.
When did it, this is my favorite art.
Ooh, Steelbook.
Whoa, wait.
Is that a
they
Steelbook?
That's all.
Is that
Yeah,
a
it is a
Steelbook?
steelbook.
make
Hey.
for games?
Yeah.
That's a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. They got an art book too. It's cool stuff.
Oh,
Cool stuff.
Oh, hold
That's
on. Phil's busting it out too. Damn.
hold up.
Oh, he's got the same one.
Not the art book. Where's it at? Let's go.
Damn.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Damn. And,
All right,
and
guys.
me, I just have the regular games. That's all I have.
That's fine.
It's okay. You'll catch up.
Okay.
But yeah, we haven't finished the part 2.
No.
We only played what we played when we hung out that one time.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Hard copy. What's going on, Vin? Great series. Can't wait for season 2. Yeah, no, season 2's we'll definitely talk about season 2.
Well, I just want to say, because when I first started watching, like I was fully convinced because I haven't seen Game of Thrones or anything, but like I thought Bella Ramsey was 14.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
she could have even passed
the
for
same
12.
thing.
She could have even passed for 12. And then I look and I see that she's 19 because I was like, well, thinking because it got renewed for season 2 pretty early on.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, who the hell is gonna play Ellie? If like this 12-year-old girl can't have lesbian sex scene. And,
Spoiler.
and so then I found out that she's 19, like going on 20, and I'm like, oh,
We can totally have lesbian sex scene.
oh.
Yeah.
I think she's. I heard also she's non-binary.
She is. Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if she's like officially used that term, but she says it's not. Yeah, she doesn't really identify strongly with either gender.
There
So
you go.
probably non-binary.
Let's see here. We got Mama Blu-ray. What's going on, Mama? Question: did you play the video game? And if yes, which one did you like more?
I don't think that's a fair question.
Oh, Mikey liked 2. Mikey liked
Oh,
2.
well,
Phil
whatever.
liked 2.
Whatever.
Yeah, what do we know?
I mean, honestly, they're kind of the same game still too. So
Yeah. I don't know. Like, there's a lot. Like, I mean, even in the little bit that we played that one day, we experienced quite a bit of story.
yeah.
in terms of what I'm like really scared for going into season 2.
Yeah.
Like if they're truly going to follow what happens in part 2, I'm like, oh my God.
I'd like to be careful because I don't know how many people listening are like
Yeah,
have
no.
not touched the game. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Like when we get to the end, we'll have a spoiler thing pop up, and in case you haven't seen part 2, get the hell out of here. Just sort of like our buddy Mousetracks just started watching, so I'm out.
Thanks for joining for the little bit that you did.
Yeah, thanks, Josh.
For all of what, 9 minutes?
You know that's Josh, right, Mikey?
Yeah, I know.
No,
You're talking
Phil
about
knows.
Mikey.
Mikey.
Oh, okay.
You know, Josh.
Hi, Jack.
That's who that is, Mousetracks. I often felt Walking Dead vibes watching the series. Yes, there are zombies / infected, but it's always the next group community of people that are the real villains.
Oh, I have something to say. Like, I think I made a pretty good sort of analogy where it's like, I know we can compare it all day long, like the two of them, but ultimately at the end of the day, I feel like The Walking Dead is a show like about the zombie apocalypse with characters living in it, but The Last of Us is like characters living in a zombie apocalypse. Like that being the secondary, where it's like the characters just so happen to be in the apocalypse. Whereas The Walking Dead is like the apocalypse, but there's characters, if that makes sense. Like,
I think I know what you're trying to say.
The apocalypse in The Last of Us is more of like an undertone. Like it's just like it just so happens to be this way, like a character study in the apocalypse. Whereas like the zombies are a main part of The Walking Dead. And there's also just so many characters to keep track of that's more of the undertone.
And then Vin here makes a good point on the clickers really not being too heavily featured in the first season.
Like twice, right?
Yeah, they really only had that one, that real one moment where they came out of the ground.
That was crazy. We'll get there.
Also, I will say I love Walking Dead, and I love The Last of Us. The Walking Dead is very soap opera-y to a certain degree. Like there is soap opera-y elements. I don't feel any of that right now with The Last of Us. So it doesn't feel like that. Bye, James. Yeah, James is cool.
Bye, James. We miss you.
Bill was very guarded in a sense as a survivalist and was more reluctant to give in and give that control away. I think homophobes clung to the idea that this episode strayed from source material in a way they felt was pushing a leftist agenda. They missed out on enjoying an amazing piece of television.
Yeah, it's funny because like with the opening of episode 2, like that was, to my recollection, nowhere in the game, like with there being in the Asian country, like talking about, and going on the talk show or whatever. Like that was nowhere. Yep. Nobody said anything about that.
No such thing, Judd. It's just funny, because it's just funny because it is very heavily if you haven't seen or like if you haven't played the video game, what are you doing watching the show? Like you should definitely play the video game. So that's why I think we all laughed.
Never mind. I'm sorry.
Moving on to episode 4. Phil, would you like to read this one? They gave it an 8. This is the lowest so far. This is the lowest.
I can understand why, I believe. Much of The Last of Us episode 4's duration is spent developing Joel and Ellie's relationship, and the pace is justifiably slowed down slightly in order to let it naturally blossom. A necessary decision taken to further the impact of future payoffs when the stakes will be heightened once more.
All right. Mikey, what do you think? Episode 4, baby.
Can people kind of remind me here?
Yeah, honestly,
we bust out the jokes, right? We get to hear Ellie's sense of humor. So I mean, it is what they're saying, right? What else? What would you say is the biggest event that happened in this episode?
Episode 4 is when they get to the town, I believe. Was it Kansas City?
They get to Kansas City, and that's where Joel decides to turn the truck around, right?
Yeah, he had to turn the truck around, and then they had to cut through the city when they get ambushed.
Wait, is this the same episode where Ellie has to shoot someone?
Yeah.
It's kind of a big episode then. I mean, I understand what they're saying. Like, it's true. Like, there's not huge, heavy plot devices happening, but in terms of character development, huge relationship jump between the two of them. Especially because I love they handled a similar scene that happens in the game, but I love that this Joel still has the walls up, still is trying to protect himself, but he's giving that kind of emotional comfort more often, I feel like, in this show. And he's upset that she had to do that. He sees that it's affecting her, and there's this great scene where he's like, all right, let me show you. You're okay. This is how you work the gun, and it's like a level of comfort he's giving her. Good episode.
Yeah, I agree. It is amongst the others. It is sort of because even Mikey was just like, wait, hold on, what happened in this episode?
I couldn't remember.
You know what I mean? So it is sort of one of those, and it just came off of episode 3, which was such a hard act to follow. I remember after the episode was over, 3, we were talking, and I was like, I don't know if they can top this one. Like, I don't how do you top this episode? I know it's going to get back to the actual story now. I can't imagine them doing 2 bottleneck episodes. But yeah, I feel like it did. I mean, like the Ellie thing, we come to find out later on in the series that wasn't the first time she actually had to kill somebody. But in that moment, it was very much like, oh, all right. And I had actually seen a behind the scenes of them filming him getting ambushed and crashing. I don't know if any of you guys did. It was really cool. It was a cool behind the scenes of watching like the camera crews and everything being far away, and then ready, 1, 2, 3, action, and then the car just comes out of nowhere and crashes through it. I've been watching a lot of behind the scenes on this show, just seeing how they turn Canada, like this little part of Canada that they're in, into, you know, wherever they're supposed to be in the show.
Kansas City.
Boston, Kansas City.
It's so cool. So cool. How a lot of it is CGI too, and I don't even notice what the CGI
They hide that very well.
Yeah.
I know we'll get to it at the very end, but it's so funny what is and what is not CGI.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep. So there we go. Episode 4. It is the lowest rated on IGN, so I think that does say something.
I wanted to say, I think the reason probably not a lot of people remember this episode is because it's the one that kind of strayed away from the game, because it's the first time we're introduced to another group, and like we see all of how they're going, and like you know what I mean?
This is the introduction of that female villain, right?
Oh,
yeah,
in my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
what the hell's her
feels
name?
like a completely new character.
Kathleen.
What was the name?
Kathleen.
Kathleen. Yeah.
She was I don't know, like
annoying.
She was annoying, and I had a hard time. I had a real hard time buying into them actually following her. You know what I mean? Like, I'm totally for you can be whatever the hell you want to be. I don't care what your gender, sex, sexuality is. I don't care. I just had a hard time believing they would follow her.
It's because she looks like she would run a bake sale.
Bake sale mom for sure. Yeah.
Should we officially jump in then? I guess we're already talking about it. 5.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I guess it does kind of go into 5. Yeah.
I was gonna pull up 5. Let's see. Here we go. They rate it a 9.
Ooh, that's a good picture.
And here we go. Episode 5. A standout flurry of action, followed by a shocking snap of violence, delivers Joel and Ellie yet another broken friendship, but not before moments of kindness and warmth are allowed to grow. It's another fantastic episode that builds impressively on what came before it, while ominously foreshadowing what may come.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Mikey, do you not know the formation of this? Do you not know the formation? You take it away.
No. I'm overwhelmed right now because a lot happened in this one. So I'll break this down. I'm trying to organize my thoughts. I'll break it down into, since we did mention Kathleen, I'll give a few thoughts about Kathleen, and I'll give a few thoughts about Henry and Sam, because those are the big ones. Because do we finalize this chapter in this episode, right? Like Kathleen's story gets told, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Kathleen, I probably feel a little bit of what everyone else. I think a lot of people mention this about her, like that believability of kind of leading the revolution. There are parts that hit and miss for me. Like I did find it very kind of the part where she's getting information from the remaining what is the people that told to Fedra information.
Yep.
And she like gives that order at the end when she gets what she wants. She's like, no, just kill them. Like I believe some moments like that. I think the biggest thing for me, even if I wasn't thrilled with every part of her character, it's more thematically what she was introducing. We're introducing the concept of you are justifying your side and you're not looking at the others. Like you chose your brother over mine. And now that is the reason I'm going to do this to you and I'm going to do this to him. We're introducing cycles of trauma and violence as an early concept, and it's going to become more important when we get further into the story before we start to introduce us to our main characters. So it's very interesting. So that's what I have to say about Kathleen. Yeah, hit or miss, but I like thematically what it gave. And then Sam and Henry, chef's kiss. I love Sam and Henry. I love the vulnerability Sam brings. I believe them as brothers. Man, why do they have to make us love these guys before they Yeah. I think that's really it. I loved every second we got to spend with them.
Second. Definitely second.
Phil, I know you want to talk about I almost said walkers, the clickers coming out of the freaking ground.
Yeah, that was kind of like I was not sure where that was gonna happen. I was like waiting for it to come about, and just when everything is like so tense and you can't think like how are they gonna get out of this? A hole bursts open, literally like just pits of hell.
Yep.
Just open up, and here comes all these clickers and everything, and the bloater. Everyone was waiting. I was waiting for that for the longest time. I was so excited to finally see it, and then he just goes up there and just starts tearing everybody up. It's just so good. Loved it. And then the one that I wasn't expecting was the one clicker that was like a girl, like a kid. And she was like twisting and twirling everywhere.
Yeah, she was wearing
what?
She was wearing a Blues Clues.
This is weird.
She was wearing a Blues Clues t-shirt.
Was it Blues Clues?
It was Blues Clues. I definitely
that.
took instant note of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like having all of that like build up to that moment, and then with at the end of the episode with Henry and Sam. Oh man, I kind of feel like I don't want to say that it got me more than the first episode did, but I think it did. I think this episode hit the hardest for me
out of everything so far.
Out of all of them, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, just that moment with where Sam, first of all, Sam being deaf, not what I was expecting, but I really liked that touch because it kind of adds a little bit more of like it's a little bit more of like there's more of a connection between him and Henry. And I thought that was interesting. And then to have him and Ellie still like getting this relationship, even though he is deaf, like I love that. But at the end of the episode where he ends up telling Ellie that he got bit, which that didn't even happen in the game. Like it just happens. They wake up the next morning and he's turned. But where he tells her that he got bit, and then she's like, "Oh, hold on," and she cuts her hand, and she tries to basically heal him. Like that shit got me, just because I know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, we all knew where it was going. We all knew how it was gonna go.
So just seeing her do that, and then you're like, oh, you want to think that it's gonna help, but it's just totally useless.
Can I ask you a question, Phil? Because I want you to keep talking, but this is just to generate your discussion. Did you feel, and the answer can be both if it is, but did you personally feel that was because she was desperate and she wanted to believe that in the moment, or do you feel that was for his sake? She wanted to comfort him.
I want to say it was both, because I feel like she honestly believed that she could heal him because she knows that she's immune. So I want to believe that she thought that she could do something. But that, and I think she did, and she did say like, I'm immune, like you're gonna be okay. So it was kind of like in a sense for both of them, for her and for him.
Okay.
I wanted to say, like, I was going to make mention of it, but since you already brought it up, Phil, how good of a storytelling device that was, because like you said, that didn't happen in the game. So, but we know, spoilers, that the reason why she's immune is because it's in her brain.
Yeah.
But it, like with her thinking, oh, maybe it's my blood, because we don't really know at this point how she's immune. So theoretically, like that could have been possible, like for her blood to be, and that's why she goes on this journey, because maybe it is something like you could just hook up like a IV and take her blood out, turn it into a vaccine, whatever.
If only.
And then it's like, she does that, it fails, and in the moment it's like, oh darn, it fails, but we don't really connect it, or at least I didn't, where it's like, all right, if not her blood, then what? Like, as somebody who, not gonna lie, I forgot that it was like the thing in her brain was what would have put her out. It's like, it really makes you think, all right, if the blood didn't work, then how is she immune, and why are they still going? And then you forget that. And then when it comes back later, it's like, oh shit. Yeah, I really like that inclusion.
Yeah.
The one thing I will mention that hasn't been brought up yet is the really cool old guy just chilling up in the house, and he's just like, he's just firing,
Yeah, he's just
staked up there,
Yeah.
And
Just
then
watching out.
Joel crawls around, comes up, and I love this is maybe my, I'd have to really think about it, but just here now, because I haven't thought about it too heavily, this could be one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Joel moment, where he has him at gunpoint and he says, just put the gun down, please don't make me do this. You know what I mean? Because we've seen this 1,000 times, and Joel has done this probably more times than has been shown on the show. So we know, like, come on, man, just put the gun down, go out, walk away, and you can actually live. And of course he doesn't. And just God, I love that moment. Please don't make me do this.
It shows a human side to him too, because he's
funny,
already like.
Which is funny because as we get to that season finale, I mean,
yeah,
good Christ.
I wanted to say, like, as much as I praise The Last of Us, one of the gripes I have with the universe in general, and again, I praise like its boldness in their 20-year time jump, and it's like, all right, well, how would humanity have evolved, like with the idea that we haven't all died out? And it's like, government doesn't exist, kind of. So it's like, you have Fedra, which is like, some sense of order, but there's no laws because there's no policing really. So it's like, all right. And then you have the Fireflies, but then it's like in Kansas City, it's the secret third thing. And I already had like, I get kind of confused. I kind of get a little confused. Like, I don't really know what Kathleen's group was trying to do, and at this point, I'm too afraid to ask. It's like there's no Fedra in the town, which is weird.
Well, they overthrew Fedra,
right?
And she was like I think she like led the coup basically to like get rid of all of them. That's why she ended up being the leader.
But it's like, aren't the Fireflies also like Vive la Resistance?
Well, like, were they even located in that city?
The Fireflies? I don't think so.
I just figured they were everywhere. I could have been wrong.
They have like, I think a decent number of people, but I think they're kind of spread out in specific locations. I don't think they're like everywhere.
Okay. All right. Yeah. The whole like the workarounds of like how government works now, but granted, I'm not too familiar about how it works today.
Sure.
Fair.
It's like, so I'm just kind of like, all right, like, but do we like Fedra? Like, is Fedra cool? I don't actually know where I stand on that.
They probably did their best at the start, but there's like we don't want to get into the weeds, but there's like a mix of stuff. Like they held rations for themselves. They started to get really strict on laws where they started banishing people for petty crimes because of limited resources. They were starting to not treat people well, and people took notice, and that's why stuff like this happened.
Yeah, it's
I'm just gonna say AFAB, all Fedra are bastards.
Because it's like, all right, I like to place myself in whatever universe, like, of whatever I'm watching, and it's like when I think like, all right, would I like, because Ellie was like under Fedra, like going through Fedra schools and whatever, and to me that seemed like boot camp. So it's like
Yeah.
boot camp cult. So yeah, that other than that, I really didn't have any problems.
Sure.
I get confused. I get confusion.
All right. Episode 6, baby. Haley?
The one that incapacitates Joel. Is this the one that
Yep.
incapacitates?
Sure damn is.
Episode 6 with a 9. That's pretty good.
Yep.
The Last of Us episode 6 allows for past demons to be exorcised in order to build a stronger future for its 2 leads. Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey are simply terrific as they navigate some of the story's most memorable scenes, all of which sideline action in favor of heated, nuanced conversation.
Boom. Mikey, talk to me. Episode 6. Do you
Yeah.
remember it?
Yes. It's just I know all the events. It's just segmenting them.
Yeah. And I think you've only, like, all of us seen it once.
Yeah. So this is where they go. They get to I almost said hospital, not the hospital, the research lab, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I recall this. I mean, what happened before they got there?
That's what I'm thinking. Wait, that's also what I'm thinking.
Phil?
Okay.
This is also the episode where they finally find Tommy, right?
Is it?
Do they find Tommy in this episode?
Wait, maybe.
I think so. Because I think they find him and
Oh.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about Tommy.
Oh.
then we haven't talked about Tommy.
This
at
must be
all.
it then, right? They get to Jackson.
Yeah, I think they get to Jackson in this one, and then they get to the research lab.
Yeah, duh. They have to meet Tommy first before they go there.
Yeah.
Then I love this episode. This is where we get 2 huge scenes. I'll let other people talk about other stuff.
Oh my god.
I'll let other people talk about other stuff. I'm gonna focus on just Tommy and Joel for a second, and then you guys can fill where I miss. But again, what I praise about the show so much is allowing this version of Joel, alternate universe, to be a little more open with his emotions. But he does it out of necessity. He's the walls are still there, but now he's in he feels like he's in fight or flight mode all the time now because he's like worried he's gonna lose Ellie. Like it's now starting to really affect him. And when they're reuniting Tommy and Joel, and he's not getting the response he wants from Tommy, and there's like an argument between them. He's very defensive at first, but then he comes back and he opens up about he's having nightmares, he's having panic attacks, and he's just seeing it happen all over again. He's seeing this girl that he can't protect die right in front of him, and he just can't handle it. And this is, to me, the most raw Pedro is throughout the entire show. And I loved every second of it in a difficult way. It's tough to watch this. And then you get that pivotal scene between Ellie and Joel. And I cried in this one too. That's
and you
it.
forgot about it until Phil mentioned something.
That's just, again, where are we? No, I cried. It was amazing. And if I cried, it's a good episode. So
I think it's safe to say you cried when the show was announced.
Probably. I actually cried in the inside the episode of the last episode. I was crying at
the making.
when one of the actors talking.
Oh my god! And now you're crying because the show's over.
I am
For
now.
until like 2024 or whatever.
Oh, so far away.
Brutal.
Phil, anything you'd like to add on episode 6?
Episode 6. I loved that couple at the beginning of the episode with the cabin where they're just trying to find direction.
Oh yeah.
Good shit.
Good comedic relief. Good comedic relief.
You gave him soup.
Yeah, that was a nice little addition. That was a little funny. Yeah, just that scene with Ellie and Joel, just raw emotion there. And that was like shot for shot, word for word, straight out of the game. And I know that a lot of people love that just because it was straight out of the game, and it's one of the most iconic scenes in the game. Just oof, yeah. And then all leading up to Joel getting hurt, which they changed the way he got hurt. They did it a little differently.
Oh yeah,
he got stabbed.
Those bastards.
It's a little bit more humane, I guess, than in the game.
I will say, because this is Gabriel Luna's real kind of like, this is where he gets to, because he's barely in the first episode.
Yeah,
he kind of just
looked like
kind of comes and goes. I had only ever seen him in, this was a similar thing with Nick Offerman. I'd only ever seen him in Terminator Dark Fate. He's the Rev 9.
Oh.
He's the bad Terminator in that film. So that was my kind of in with Gabriel Luna going, oh, okay, this is and I know he played Ghost Rider in the MCU. Yeah.
Oh, in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yeah, he was Ghost Rider.
I haven't watched that.
Yeah. So those are his two big, I think, claim to fames is Terminator Dark Fate and Ghost Rider.
Okay.
Now I think now if he ever goes to a convention, I think people are going to be like, oh, can you sign my Tommy photo? You know, I think this is sort of like going to be
Tommy.
Yeah. But I just thought he was just that initial meeting. You know, I love meetings in the apocalypse. And again, I'm going back to The Walking Dead. One of the best ones is when Rick finally finds Lori and Carl. You know. And it's just like such a beautiful moment. Anytime family is reunited in an apocalyptic setting, it just kills me. You know what I mean? It's just like, God, this is so good. And I'm not even super close with my blood brother. So I kind of relate this more to like if I was losing contact with you guys, you know what I mean? And I hadn't seen you in who knows how long. And I finally come across you after like trying to track you down. Like that's where my mind goes. I don't necessarily go to a blood relative. I kind of go to like more of the people that have become family in a way over, you know what I mean? So that's where that like affects me. But I mean, I'm sure Phil, I know you're super close with John. So I'm sure like that kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I got you.
Kind of hit you.
Well, yeah, it's like, because you have to think in this time, it's like you don't have cell phones, but and like you don't have mail, but it's for a whole different reason. Yeah. It's because like not only does that technology not exist, but it's almost like it almost can't. So it's like, how do you contact people? And man, the way like in Tommy leaving, knowing full well like that this is his means of contacting his brother, and what will happen if he doesn't contact his brother. It's like, in a world like this, it's not just like, all right, they went AWOL. It's like, no, he's just going to assume that you're dead. Like, obviously he didn't, but he wanted to, you know, keep high hopes, and obviously he wasn't. But it's like, being no contact with people, especially in this scenario, is like alarming because of how almost disposable human life can be.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, like, I love and also find a gripe in this episode with the human side of Joel, because this is where, you know, you see him seeing what looks to be Sarah just by like her big hair.
Yeah, that's a good moment.
Being her defined feature, and him having like that heart sort of like palpitation and being dubbed over. Like, that's like pretty human, because we're all like, we're not characters in a video game where we're like, we can just restart whenever we, you know, lose a life. Like you can really be affected by stuff like this, and he's getting older.
That is the funny thing, isn't it, about something that's adapted from a video game? Like Joel can't just be killed and then he like reincarnates real quick. You know what I mean? Like that's the interesting thing about adapting a video game, where you're so used to playing Joel and you get shot and you just come back. You know what I mean? So
Wrap a little bandage around your arm, you're good to go.
Yeah.
and so really, in reality, games don't have, and I mean, people will have issues with me saying this, but they don't really have stakes. Like they really don't have stakes. You know what I mean? Because you can just keep coming back until you beat it. You know what I mean? That the fun is in the fun is in beating it. That's the fun. The stakes aren't really there. The stakes are in the show, though. The stakes, you know, Joel gets shot. Well, he's out. And granted, he ain't going to get shot in the first season. I don't think they're going to do something like that, but it is interesting.
And so, and then he gets hurt, and we don't see him like, you know, suffering heart palpitations or old age in the game, but it like deters the believability shot or the stab or whatever happened. I forget what it happens. Him getting hurt, because you would think that with his age showing and, you know, him not being as physically fit as he once was 20 years ago, the believability of him actually surviving Ellie's amateur suturing and, you know, some bed rest is like in the when you're watching it, it's like whatever, but retroactively looking back, it's like, could that have happened? I don't know, but let's go with it anyway. But other than that,
it's funny though that we're talking about this, because this is a funny thing I wanted to show here. Pedro says Joel sneaks less since 55-year-olds can't crouch for more than like 3 minutes.
Oh my god.
And I love how that's labeled as news.
This just in.
Yep. This just in. Pedro Pascal says Joel sneaks less because 55-year-olds can't crouch for more than like 3 minutes.
Then like 3 minutes.
So I thought that was funny.
My one last thing to point out about this episode is how I was talking about like subverting expectations when it comes to characters. You have, you know, Bill and Frank living in this high security, you know, fenced in, protective security cam laden, almost small little village of their own, and they make it 20 years. Meanwhile, this little old couple in their cabin are like, there's an apocalypse. So they live the 20 years without all the high tech for like different reasons. And it's so funny.
Yep.
It's just
That's cool.
Again, same end result, different way of getting there. It's funnily so.
Yep. Now the show after season 6, after episode 6, pulls another bottleneck episode, and this is where they adapt the DLC. Is that what it's called? The DLC?
God, you're dating.
Oh yeah, baby.
And what is it? The
Left Behind.
The
ABC.
What is it? The BTS Dynamite
BLT.
Anyway. Mikey, take it away. This is episode 7. They gave it a 9.
It deserves it. The Last of Us episode 7 is a beautifully faithful adaptation of the beloved Left Behind chapter of Ellie's story. A real showcase for Bella Ramsey's ability as a performer. We're treated to a story of young love that is equal parts heartwarming and heartbreaking. It's also a necessary tale to be told.
Can I just say really quick that like
please go.
People what?
No, please go. I was saying please go.
I said please don't. And I was like, all right.
please don't speak, Haley. No, please.
Right. People again on social media.
Oh yeah, the queer stuff again. Here we go.
Not even the queer stuff. It's like people are saying like, God, this was filler. Like,
woke filler.
Woke filler. That's what they called it. Woke filler. And
filler.
It really just goes to show like you people don't game. Because it's like literally it takes 2 seconds of game knowledge to know that this is, you know, chapter 1 DLC and that it's a part of the narrative.
And it's like they say, it's a necessary tale to be told.
Yeah. So it's like, do you even know what you're watching? Like, do you not know the universe or anything? Like, this is surface level stuff, my guy.
Yep.
It's so calling it filler is like you're just showing you're stupid.
Mikey, talk to me. DLC, baby.
What do I say? I'll say, man, who I don't know who the casting director is. I mean, I'm sure Craig and Neil have a lot of say to it, but I don't know if there's like delegation with that job too. But every single person they casted, I'm like, even if they didn't sound or look the exact same, it's like it just must be the care put into the show. The core of every character is retained and then given fresh perspective through the actor. When Riley was on screen, I'm like, there's fucking Riley. And I'm sold already. I'm like, know where we're going, but I'm ready to see this Riley. Man, I thought they just both did so well at showcasing, oh, like we have this long history with each other. We care about each other so much, but like we're like doing this dance where it's like, but do you care about me like the way I care about you? And we're young and like I don't know, and it's hard to figure out. And now you're going away, and I don't want you to go, but we can have this day together, and them navigating their conflicts. But ultimately, the things they appreciate the most about each other, you see how they just bring out these traits in each other. And this is why it's necessary. It's necessary because we get to see Ellie's first huge loss. And let me tell you, I had chills when that scene when they're actually dealing with oh, we're fucked. After they got bit. Ellie's like Bella's performance when she's first reacting to the bite, I was actually like really like upset. Because it just, I don't know, it just felt I cared so much about them at that point. It just felt really tragic.
But this was maybe the most fun episode to date for the and maybe for the entire season. Just in terms of the setting, in terms of know what I mean.
Mall looks nuts.
Exploring the mall, like I'm a sucker, and I've said this a lot of times on the channel. Like I'm a sucker for mall movies, like movies that take place strictly in malls. Because I'm like a mall is like a safe space for me. Like it's like a place I go like a lot. Like I love going to a mall.
I wish malls were what they were
back
then, because now they're just nowhere near it.
Yeah,
just the aesthetic of a classic like 80s mall.
I frequently think of, was it in Ocala that we went to?
That one mall we went to in that video where the both of you were reading the Scientology books or something.
fun day.
Oh, was that Oviedo?
Oviedo, yeah.
Yeah.
I think about that mall frequently.
That was a wild mall, man.
Because it feels like, that literally feels like a mall like in an apocalypse.
Lost in time.
Like lost in time. Like
Yeah,
I feel like I left, like I went in that mall a boy and came out a man.
And that's where that's also where we that's also where we saw Jackass Forever, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, yeah, I just wanted to say nothing to do with the show or anything.
Yeah, no.
But I think about that mall frequently.
Well, yeah. It was a fun day.
The vibes aren't immaculate, but they're vibes for sure.
I'm gonna throw it over to you very soon, Philip. I'm just gonna put a bow tie on what I was saying. Bow tie, or what did I mean? The bow on a present. I don't know.
Bow tie.
Yeah.
Bow tie.
Yeah. Basically, to finish up what I was saying, it's just the reason this is so necessary is because when we're back in the present world, she's not giving up on Joel. Like she's trying as hard as she can, and the lesson that's kind of taken away from that past memory is, even though it's this horrible like trauma she's had to deal with, it's like what Riley says, you fight for every second you get. And that's what the show's about too. It's really about the reason we keep going when all this horrible stuff happens is to fight for every moment for the people we care the most about, and that through line to push us through the rest of the story. That's why it matters. It's great.
Yep. Phil?
Yeah, I agree. That, like he said, the scene where Bella's performance of Ellie, just absolutely losing it. The second she realizes that not only she but her best friend, they're both goners basically, like, and just her taking out her anger, just smashing all the glass, like that got me. That brought a tear to my eye also. Did you cry, Mikey, in that one?
I think I was I might have. Yeah, no, I did. I remember. It came later. First, I was just really upset, and then I'm like, oh no. Yeah, I remember now.
Like, for me, it wasn't so much like my heart's like. It's not so much that my heart was broken. It was just kind of like, shit. Like,
Yeah.
like I'm at that peak. I'm at the high point of my life, and then it's just.
I will say that it took that clicker a long time because, like, man,
yeah, he took his sweet ass time waking up.
He took his sweet ass time because I remember they showed him, right. He's like he's like attached to the wall, and then like he wakes up because they're making noise.
Yeah, he was in a creepy doll store. That was. Ugh.
Yeah, like they're making noise on the carousel, I think. And I'm like, oh shit, they're fucked. They better get off that carousel. No, they went to a whole other ass store. They did
the arcade, played Mortal Kombat.
They got food at the food court, like, and then he shows up, So he took his sweet ass time.
But I hate, honestly, like the irony, like how Mikey, you were talking about when Ellie got bit, like the irony of like of us, the audience, knowing that she's immune, but in that moment, Ellie herself not knowing that information. It's like you see her freaking out, and I'm just sitting here going like, no, baby, it's okay. Like, you're not gonna die. Like, you don't have to think about killing yourself.
Yep.
And
imagine if she did, though. It would have changed the whole course of everything.
Well, I love, again, what we don't see. Like, sometimes it makes me mad. Sometimes it's like, it leads you to really think about what, obviously we know that, Ellie ended up shooting Riley. We find that out later. But like, you could just think the horror of, just sitting there waiting it out. And, she just saw Sam, like, or not she just saw, but like we just saw Sam, turning on Ellie. And at this point where it's like her first major loss, and it's just like you're waiting, and then the person you love turns, and it's like, all right, come on, why am I still here? Like, we're supposed to be gone now. And it's like, I can't imagine, like, why am I still here? And it's like, all right, I guess I'm gonna have to be, because this is weird. So that is like, God, heart-wrenching thought.
Yep. Well, if we thought Bella was incredible in episode 7, she came back and she gave us episode 8. The creepy episode. This is the villain. This is the villain. This is the villain I was waiting for.
I have something to say about this one, but I'll wait till it gets my turn.
This is the villain I was waiting for right here. Whose turn is it? Oh, it's Phil, right?
Is it me?
Wait,
Phil. I'll read this one.
Oh, yeah.
As Ellie reaches her most desperate moment, darkness comes knocking in an outstanding episode of HBO's The Last of Us, a chapter that explores the depraved depths humanity will plummet to in order to survive. It's endlessly engaging and hard to turn your eyes away from, even when you want to.
Did anybody want to turn their eyes away from anything?
Yeah. So icky.
Yucky.
Yo, shout out Troy Baker. That's my dog. No, you did great.
Yep.
David scared the hell out of me, dude. Like they fleshed out his character in such a meaningful way in the show. Like it's kind of more like in the game. It's like a little bit of shock value almost. Oh! I thought my audio went out. Can you still hear me?
Yeah. She was just like, "Can I just step away real quick? She has to use the bathroom."
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, in the game, it's kind of like shock value. Like he's at first appearing as this reasonable, like almost pleasant character, and then like kind of near the last moment of the interaction, he like reveals, "Oh, like, yeah, you killed my people, and look, everything happens for a reason." And that line's still there in the show, but in the show, we're given his community. We're given what is he like in his day-to-day? What is this intimidation he holds? What manipulation he like inflicts upon people, like endearing them to him? And every step of the way, I'm like, dude, get the hell away from me. You are so terrifying. And I guess the last thing I'll say about it is, God, another thing that Ellie just has to another traumatization again.
Yeah.
And she's put through so much in that episode, and this is where it really seals in for her. Like, I need to do what and we'll get into this more in the next episode, but for me to have gone through all of this, I need to make sure that this was for something. Because it's terrible. Philip.
Phil?
Yeah. Ugh, this episode. And I feel like every time I heard him speak, I was just like, "Ugh," just cringing the entire time. Just he did it. He portrayed the character like really well. But just
I
can't get
didn't
over it.
I didn't immediately pick up on who this was.
Neither did I.
I vividly remember, if there's one thing I vividly remember from the game, the first game, is crouching in a burning building,
Yeah.
running away from a guy going, Ellie.
Oh,
That's why that's what's been ingrained in my head. So I was waiting for that. I did not know this was that guy. I had no idea because I don't remember names worth shit.
Neither did I.
Right.
So I had no idea that that's who we were dealing with. And it, like, I picked up on it when he came back with the deer, and he went over to that girl who was upset at him for some reason. I forget why she was upset at him. And then he slapped
her. I think it was her dad or something.
Yeah, she said something about her dad.
Oh, that's right, because they're looking for Joel because he killed her dad.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right? That's right. Yeah. And they're gonna like show mercy on him or something. And she's like, kill him now, or something like that. And he goes over and he slaps her. And I was like, oh, okay. Is this the guy from the game that I really
This is that
was
guy.
like, what the hell's going on with this guy? And then of course we know where the episode goes. And God, that was so good. You have something pulled up here.
I wanted to, because this I just saw today, and I thought it was hilarious because, again, it's me on the social medias. I gotta stop doing that. And people, because like Phil, you said that this character is more fleshed out in different ways. Like, not only is he more predatory toward Ellie, but he's also a Christian, which he was
Yeah.
not, just like that wasn't explicitly stated in the game. So people like Ryan Wilson, for example, are saying that they're calling out this episode because it is, quote, Christophobic.
Christophobic.
Oh no.
jeez
Louise.
Louise.
Oh man.
Yeah, like
Is the show stating that all Christians are like this man?
yeah, like Wilson tweeted, there is an anti-Christian bias in Hollywood. As soon as the David character in The Last of Us started reading from the Bible, I knew that he was going to be a horrific villain. Could there be a Bible reading preacher on a show who is loving and kind?
Wait, hold on. Go to The Walking Dead. Father Gabriel,
That's
right?
what I was just,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I was literally just gonna say that. Like, he literally, Gabriel couldn't even hurt a fly, even if he wanted to.
Yeah.
And
Whatever.
like, I found that so funny that like people are agreeing with him, like,
of course,
saying it's Christophobic.
Christophobic. Let us know down in the comments. Is this episode Christophobic?
And like, I
Weird.
disagree. Like, I'm not
Weird.
Christian,
This is weird.
but like, I'm not Christian, so I couldn't take offense. But coming from like a Catholic rooted family, I'm not like, ignorant on religion or anything. I don't think the Christianity of this character was put in there to say boo, like Christophobia, like we're woke people. Like, I honestly thought it was put in there because, like, inherently, whether we want to believe it or not, like, this might get me canceled, I don't know. Religion is like something of a cult where like people follow this one, like, not divine, but like a person of like excellence. Like they are, under them, like believing, whatever they say and keeping morale.
Mhm.
So it just like coincides, like it gives us a reason to believe that David would be a leader of all of these people. Like, why would they pick David of all people? Because he's like, at least in the show, he's kind of looks like a wimp. Like he looks like a dweeb. And so it's like
He's a ginger.
he's like, boo.
More ironic because he doesn't have a soul, so there's no reason for him to be a Christian.
But but it wasn't added for no reason. Like the whole Christianity Bible verse thing, that wasn't added for nothing. It just, he's like, a born again, and people turn to religion in times of need. That's just known. That's just a known thing. I've done the same. And, it gives these people a reason to follow somebody, a reason to have hope, a reason to keep going. I thought it was warranted. Like, I didn't think it was offensive. I just thought it was a good plot device.
I think with his character, because the episode starts off and he's like reading Bible verses and stuff. I think in the way it's supposed to be is like it's kind of shown him like that to kind of build like a trust. Like, oh, so he's a good guy. He's a good God-loving man. And it's kind of like, oh, we can trust him, But then it's slowly like you see his real side. You see like it. I had the words on my
he's not a pedophile because he's Christian.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
he's just that's what he is.
And he's not a bad person because he's Christian. It's just it makes sense.
It's the things that he does.
It just makes sense in this time because, like what you're about to say, go ahead, say what you're going to say.
What?
Because like Herschel in The Walking Dead.
No, I was going to say that.
Oh, well, like Herschel in The Walking Dead, like you still have religion even though the world's ending. It gives people hope. Yeah. It gives people, reason. It keeps them sane, calm. And those are all good things to have. Yeah. So I think it's to Christianity's benefit to show that there is still religion and people believing in times of terror and horror.
I was just going to say, I'm not a religious person at all, but I was actually following along with that Bible verse that he was reading at the beginning. Like I knew what he was going to say next. And the only reason I know that is because that is the exact Bible verse that's said in Titanic when the ship is sinking.
Oh,
and there's a priest, and there's like a bunch of passengers that are clinging onto the priest as the ship is starting to go like this. And that's where like Leo's he's like behind someone who's like saying the prayer, and he's like, you want to get to that valley a little quicker there, buddy? And it like the film highlights the priest, and he's like, and there shall be no more dead, neither shall there be no more sorrow nor pain. The former world has passed away. And I said that to her as it was going. I was like, I bet he's gonna say, and lo and behold, he did. I was like, oh, they're using the Titanic Bible verse.
That verse was written from the Titanic.
Yeah. Thank you, James.
They added it to the Bible after the Titanic came out.
Credit to James Cameron.
Everybody knows James Cameron wrote the Bible.
JC, Jesus Christ.
Wait a minute.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Nadia, get us on your conspiracy theory stream again.
Anyways, look, we all love this episode. This episode's creepy. It's vile. It's disgusting. It's literally, it's everything. And it gives you Joel from the video game in a completely different role.
How do we feel about cannibalism?
Yeah. Do we like it?
For it. I'd eat people for sure.
Mikey, I would eat you.
Thanks, man. I'd eat you too.
Yeah.
I just want you to know, probably not the best thing to eat. I have lots of hair.
If this will be one very tiny comment, I promise. But if there's one interesting thing to David's character that makes you feel conflicted, it's when he challenges Ellie on like, what makes you think like we have a choice, like that we have to eat people, like because the other option is death. Because she's like, she can judge him for all these other things, but that's like the one thing where he's kind of bringing up some philosophical like points.
I was kind of thinking of that too. like
Yeah.
because they were given food. Like I really like the detail where they were given like the meat to cook, and that they just shot the deer before. So and they're like, "Oh, it's deer." You're like, "Oh, all right, yeah, cool, it's deer." And then they cook it in the soup, and then they serve it, and then you see the deer being brought in. And you're like,
Yep.
Well, that's the
Like,
scary
that's not
thing.
deer.
That's the scary thing. If I took anything away from this episode, it's the fact that human meat, you can't tell it tastes any different. So
Is that confirmed?
I don't know. According to this television show, this piece of fiction, they could not tell they were eating humans.
This is really good deer.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't know what deer tastes like. Would you? I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, look, I don't know, man. That's the
venison,
scary part.
sorry.
That's the scary part.
Venison, but
Well, there are people that actually eat human meat.
yeah,
I don't know who they are, but I do know that they
cannibals. I
exist.
think.
Huh?
Ethical cannibals. Well, wasn't there that one guy that cut off his foot and ate it, or like he had to amputate his foot and then he took it home and then he cooked it and put it. Nobody knows about this. Am I?
Wait, I think I've heard about this. Did he actually eat his foot, or was it just for science?
He had to have his foot amputated for some reason. He was like, "Can I take it home and eat it?" And I'm pretty sure he cooked it in tacos for his friends.
Yes, yeah.
Did the friends know?
Well,
our relationship's over if you don't tell me you're feeding me human tacos.
Not even, like, I wouldn't even be mad if you were feeding me human tacos. It'd be like, why am I eating your foot though?
You wouldn't be mad? I'd be livid.
I'd be like, dude, you gotta communicate this.
But it's like sure, human tacos awesome, but like your feet, that's fucking gross, dude. Like,
well, I'm sure he boiled it first.
You sanitize it. It's fine.
Good
like,
God.
I don't know. I'd just be scared of finding a toenail. I don't know.
Anyways.
But one last thing,
and then we're on to the finale.
I know it's
Wow.
because I'm like I don't want this to end too soon, but also whatever.
We're going 2 hours. It's
Whatever.
going on 1 in the
Too
morning.
Too soon. I think it's left to speculate. Well, two more things actually. Jesus. I think it's left to speculation, but I'm pretty convinced that the venison that they were eating was the girl's dad.
Okay.
I think that's what we were led to believe. Like, because
I think he actually did get shot by Joel though, because there was one that got killed when they were ambushing them at the research lab.
But do we think that they brought the dad home? Well, because they said that they. Well.
That's possible if they brought him back.
He did get shot by Joel, but I think they brought him back to eat him because when the girl asked, "When can we bury my dad?" he was like, "Oh, later, because the snow."
We got to eat him first. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Second thing, we already like made a point, but like because he wasn't as like groomer predatory-y in the game as he is now, but God, I can't leave this episode without talking about like one of the last lines he says before Ellie kills him.
What does he say?
Like, God, I literally left that episode a changed person. Like
she showered twice that night.
Literally, like I had to like scrub my eyeballs and my eardrums and like this show goes far. It's like it doesn't show much, but it's like what it chooses to show. It's like
that's where it gets you.
Anyways, next episode.
So far, IGN has literally rated every episode either a 10, a 9, or an 8. It hasn't dropped below an 8. What do we think the finale is going to be?
1.
I have a hot take for this episode.
1.
I have a hot.
No, seriously, let's go around.
I'd assume 9.
9.
Probably.
I assume 9.
9. Phil, 9.
9.
IGN gives the season 1 finale of HBO's The Last of Us.
Ooh,
and
interesting.
Okay.
And I believe it concludes with Pedro Pascal excels in Joel's defining moment, displaying both tenderness and brutality we've come to expect from Ellie's protector. Wonderfully shot, hauntingly soundtracked. It's an ending that will long linger in the memory of those first experiencing TLOU.
Oh, The Last of Us.
Oh, yeah, The Last of Us. All right, so here's the interesting thing, and I think I talked to Mikey about this on the phone a couple of nights ago, but the interesting thing about the way the previous episode ended didn't necessarily lead me into like, oh my God, what the hell is going to happen in the finale? Oh my God, Jesus Christ, finale. Like the way episode 8 ends is, Joel comes, I got you, baby girl, and they just walk off. And that almost felt like a season finale right there. Like that felt like, all right, cool. Cut. Go to season 2 now. So I was like, where are we? Like, I understand where the game goes, but I'm like, where are we going in terms of a finale? It's a finale. Mikey, do you think it delivered for a finale?
I think so, but only because it kind of delivered in the same ways I experienced this the first time, to be honest. And I guess I'll specify by delivered, I mean, I feel like we get that like gut punch to the audience where it's like, how do you feel about this now? Like, because it's been kind of easy to be on Team Joel throughout most of this. Even when you're kind of told, oh, like he's done some bad stuff, you probably thought about that, but you didn't have to see it. And the rest of the time we're protecting Ellie. So it's like, oh yeah, let's do this, Joel. This is the first time where we're given kind of a direct moral dilemma with him. And this is what's so interesting about The Last of Us, because people will spend so much time debating over, well, the Fireflies were wrong because they don't know that this is going to work, or they're like, oh, well, Joel is wrong because obviously you saved humanity, and or they're like, no, Joel is right. I would have killed more people. Of course he did the right thing. And it's really, to me, I that can be interesting, but to me, I look at it more just from the emotional perspective. When you look at it from the emotional perspective, Joel has no choice. Joel has been through this already, and it almost ended him. You get that beautiful conversation between Ellie and Joel. That's where I cried in this episode, actually, was where he like kind of says, what saved me was you, without really saying it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It wasn't time, it was you. And when he's presented with, okay, we got to kill her to save the world, he's not thinking about the thousands, the hundreds of thousands of people. He's not thinking about 2 steps ahead. All that he's hearing is, this is happening to me again, and you're not giving me a choice. Yeah. And I'm not going to let this happen. And that's why he says, I have a choice, or I don't know the exact line, but he says something like, I have a choice, or I can do something about this. And he sees it through to the end, and it comes at the cost of lying to Ellie, because he knows, even though he did what he feels like he had to do as a father, he knows how that will affect her. Yeah. And he's not ready to deal with it. So I thought it was good. The last thing I'll say, kind of like a detail thing. It's funny because the rest of the show, it's like treating Joel and the world and other people very realistically, like how Eddie kind of mentioned earlier. You can't get shot because then you're, that's a huge deal. Then you might be out of the game. But here it's like, it's the first time where Joel almost becomes unrealistically badass, where it's like, look at all these trained soldiers getting wiped.
Yeah.
You said John Wick.
I turned to her and I was like, this
literally,
is a John Wick moment right here. This is John Wick.
In the game, it makes sense because you can suspend your disbelief a little more. It's like, yeah, I threw the smoke bomb so they can't see me. Now I can sneak around.
Yeah.
Like, it just connects with you as like you're the one doing it, so that's how you suspend your disbelief. In a show, it's like, yo, this was a tough fight when you had 2 people down the street, shooting at you from a distance. Now you're like, oh, you're done. Oh, let me reload real quick. You're gone.
And let me just quickly say, there was an overabundance of nut shots. I don't know if you cut
really?
Caught that.
Yeah, I didn't catch that.
I don't know, maybe not directly in the nuts, but he aimed for the balls a lot.
I saw one guy. Was there more?
He went for the balls
There's at
quite a
least
few
two.
times. He went for the balls yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And the final sentence, other than the ball shots, which is very funny, the final sentence of all this is just, even though that was unrealistic, I feel like, again, focusing on emotions, it's like, it doesn't matter if Joel could or could not do what we saw there. What matters, it's like, he wouldn't have been stopped. He either would have been killed or he would have done what he did, because it's that fear, it's that trauma that's pushing him. It's the love.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
Yep.
Honestly, I kind of think it's not entirely impossible, because like in real human life, like you can do some crazy shit on adrenaline.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Adrenaline, yeah.
That's what we're led to believe. It's pure adrenaline.
Like-
But that's what's
It's
so
true.
cool. That's what's so cool about it, because any other show would have had that like intense music going, like you know what I mean? I almost think, and I forget what played, but it was almost like a calming music. Like it was like calm music.
I think it
very,
was like the theme song.
very peaceful. Yeah.
Right.
And he's just going around one after the other. And it's not the stereotypical intense score that you would imagine. It's very, and that's what I liked about it. Cause I had that same issue, Mikey. I was like, what? Where the hell is this coming from? He's one, like just everybody. It's one dude, and he's taking everybody out. He's taking everybody out. But then I was like, this is a really cool juxtaposition. So he's like he is just in a locked in mind zone kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where even if he did get shot, I don't even think he would go down. He would just go, oh fuck, that hurt. Like, you know what I mean? So it was cool the way they did that music.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, Philip. Just the last thing. I'm so sorry. And I'm sorry to everyone, because I know we're probably all tired. But the last thing is, I was scared.
So we're tired?
Oh, maybe you're not. I was scared in that surgery room.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
they did that scene perfectly. Like he's probably barely making eye contact with anyone. He sees her and he's like, unhook her. And no one's and in his mind he's like, you're not gonna listen? I'm gonna make sure you listen. Oof. And I was scared of him. And I felt like that was what I was supposed to feel. And I'm like, yeah man.
That you're really supposed to feel conflicted with Joel at that moment.
Yeah.
You're supposed to go, Joel, what the fuck are you, 1 versus a billion?
In that moment, in that room, to those people, he's a monster.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, like, when Marlene like was at the end and she was like, we could still fix this, I'm thinking to myself, he killed the doctor. How are you, like, even if...
But he didn't kill the nurses.
Well, it's like, okay, even if he did change his mind in that moment, it's like the doctor's kind of dead.
But he didn't kill the nurse.
I'm just thinking, like, sorry, go ahead.
I shot the sheriff, but I didn't kill the deputy.
Yeah, I mean,
I could have killed the nurses. Sorry, go ahead.
How can I kill the nurses?
I just want to talk about how brutal Joel was in that scene, because like in the game, obviously, like you're getting shot at, there's reason for you to shoot them, but then there's like the scene where there's one guy that's like running away and he's like, no, please, and he still just shoots him like cold blood, like crazy. It's insane. But it's, you know, he's doing it to save his girl, you know?
Yeah.
But I remember the entire time that the scene's going on, like when he's getting into the operating room, I'm like, no, don't do it. You don't know what's gonna happen next.
Yeah.
Like, just knock out the doctor. You don't gotta kill him. Just punch him in the face.
The moment this for me, this episode had the moment that was the most shocking and the most putting me in the apocalypse, and that was when Joel and Ellie are walking, and it's just, tell me some jokes. I just want to hear some jokes real quick. And she's telling jokes and they're arguing. And if you were them, which we're not, we're the audience, but it works equally. We're invested in that conversation. Like I was invested in that conversation because everything felt like it was at a lull at this point. It was just like, okay, cool. Yeah. We have some downtime. Like I was invested in like the stupid little shenanigans they were throwing back and forth at each other.
Yeah.
All of a sudden I'm invested in them. And my eye catches somebody run up from the back. And there's not even like a musical score, like a musical, like, oh, or a switch in the camera. No, like it's a beautiful tracking shot. And all of a sudden somebody appears in the back and I'm going, wait, holy shit. And it's at that point when he throws the thing at them and it just, everything just upends itself right there. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, that is what would happen. You would just be walking and all of a sudden a grenade would come out of nowhere. You would hear it and that's it. That's it. And this show did it so beautifully, more than any other show I've ever seen, like a sneak attack kind of thing. Where I was so invested in that conversation and all of a sudden a dude appears behind them very, very far off, throws it, and Jesus Christ, at that point I was scared. That was the most scared I had been in the show. I was like, okay, I guess some shit's going to go down now.
Yeah.
Because it's a finale. Like up until that point, I was like, what about this is feeling like a finale? Maybe it's going to 180 our expectations and be very, very calm. But that happened. And like, I applauded them for that. Like just not cutting, to the like over the shoulder of the guy throwing, or something like that.
Yeah.
It was a cool creative decision. But yeah.
Why is nobody talking about
The
the
giraffe.
I was just about to bring it up.
Why is nobody
Yeah,
talking about giraffe?
I have this right here.
The non.
I knew it.
It was a real
I
giraffe.
There was just certain things with the mouth. I'm like, is it CGI? And it looked so real. I was like, I don't think it is.
Well,
You know what's weird is that I had a feeling it was a real giraffe, but then there were some parts of it that I was like, now that kind of looks like CGI.
Well,
That's what I
Maybe
was,
it's just
I was
like the
going
lighting
back
or
and
something.
forth.
But you know what the problem is look, it's a real giraffe surrounded by blue screens. That's why that's why we were unable to really truly determine what the hell was going on here.
Yeah.
Because I kept going back and forth. Like, is it real? Is it not? It looks really fucking real, but wow.
Yeah.
It was real.
That's amazing.
I love it.
Yeah.
And it's funny because there was somebody on Twitter and they were just kind of like, this giraffe looks like, and there was like ... like implying that like this looks like shit.
It's real.
And then they quote repeated themselves.
I saw that post actually.
Like they quoted themselves and they were like, wait a minute.
that giraffe is real, fuckers.
He ended his own career.
Literally. I want to say two things. One, like presented with the ethical dilemma, like the main point of this episode, like because people are debating it, like was Joel right, or does this make him like kind of a villain? It's honestly, I feel like Joel was in the right
I
because
agree.
not purely because of the love he has for Ellie, but from a logistics standpoint almost, in that it's like, okay, hypothetically they find a cure, right? Like Ellie's the cure, but it's not to fit, like the cure from what I understand is not to avert the clickers to humans, because that's like a takeover in their brain. It's just to, if you get bit or if something happens to where you come in contact with the infected, that it prevents you from turning.
It's more, it's like a prevention, not so much a cure.
Correct. So it's like, I really, considering that we're 20 years on, we have, prevention means, unless something drastic like the depths of hell open and the bloaters come out, like humanity's pretty secure. Like granted, like it's not perfectly safe, but like we, at this point, 20 years on, we know what we're doing. If this was 2 years in and it's like, all right, this would work. Like that makes sense. But it's like you have like 3/4 of the world are already turned. It's like almost what's the point? Like, so to sacrifice the one thing that Joel really has to cling on to, I don't think makes, like, in a rational state of mind entirely, a lot of sense. I don't think it makes sense.
It's interesting that you say that because I did see something earlier today, and it was someone saying like, "Oh well, if Joel had just let them do the surgery, like he could have saved the world." And like to rebuttal that, like Ellie was his world, and we learned that from that conversation that they had where he told her about how he tried to kill himself and that time doesn't heal all wounds. She did. And it's like that it's literally all he has left to live for. Well, her and Tommy, I guess, but
yeah. But it's like, I was saying like 2 years in, then it's like most of the world probably hasn't even maybe a greater population or something like way early on. It makes sense because then maybe like the world as we see it today could have been salvaged, but they already have a new world. Plus, I also firmly believe that really the stakes that clickers present aren't the bites. It's like if you come in contact with a clicker, you're most likely going to be mauled. And I don't think a vaccine is going to prevent you from getting mauled or bring you back from being mauled.
no.
It's like, so it's much less the bite. It's more common for you to get your face eaten off, like tested, than it is for you to just like have a bite and then whatever. My second thing, and this is my hot take. This is my least favorite episode of the season.
Ooh.
And here's why. I think this could have made it to 10 episodes. This season could have been 10 episodes.
I was
Because
surprised they didn't go for 10 episodes, but I guess
Right?
HBO's been doing that with a lot of their shows.
Right. I feel in this episode has the shortest runtime.
Yeah, it's like barely 40 minutes or something like that.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
It's very short.
Because the most of it is made up with, like, if you look at the little bar at the end, most of the ending is like the talk with the cast
Oh.
and the
Yeah.
people behind the making and the behind the scenes.
And they also include in the previously on The Last of Us. That's included in the runtime.
Oh, right.
It's like, Jesus, there's really not a lot of content in this one.
I feel like for what this episode is, and especially for what it stands for, it feels so rushed.
A finale.
Like,
Hmm.
I know it's like it does what it has to do. It hits all the beats. But I feel like when comparing it to the rest of the season, considering like how much they fleshed out so many other things, like they give Bill and Frank their whole episode, they give Left Behind a whole episode. They give like Henry and Sam like 2 episodes to develop. Whereas like this really important thing, like this is what the show builds up to. They give it just barely 40 minutes. And it's like, this is so significant that I feel like we're in the whole thing, like in the hospital itself is very short. Because again, we have the scene with the giraffe. That's pretty big. We have, them returning back to, where Tommy is. That's its whole thing. So it's like, why are we speed running this episode? I just feel like we could have I'm not saying like to add filler in a 9th and 10th episode. I'm just saying like they could have done something. Part of me thinks like the switch of Joel's character to be like this hard ass to this overly compassionate. I feel like that was too quick on the switch. I feel personally like that was a very quick 180. Like we saw it briefly at the end, like where he's like, dying.
Why you gotta do him like that? He's dying.
Help him. Help him.
Oh well, the
I
season's
was
over.
listening.
I guess
season's
now
over.
that you mentioned that, I guess I could see something happening like in between the last episode and the previous episode and then the finale, where like a little bit more like Joel comforting Ellie, because you didn't really get a lot of that. It was just kind of like, hey baby girl, sorry about what happened. Here's a giraffe.
Yeah, literally. Here's a giraffe.
Delivery of Philip.
Hey,
Hey, baby
Lois,
girl.
it's a
Sorry
giraffe.
Here's a giraffe.
Like, right? Like, we see
Ugh.
Joel, you know, becoming that father, like that compassionate father. But the way he, like in the 8th episode, but I feel like we could have had more development of that character. I don't know what you would have done, right? I'm not a show writer, but like, because what he does in that last episode is so drastic that like from the time he was shot to then, I feel like was not enough time to really justify, you know, him doing that in such a way.
Well, this is not the first time they've rushed some stuff. Bill and Frank was rushed, I think. So
Well, that still that was
HBO gave them
hour
9
and-
episodes, and they were like, "All right, let's."
I don't know. That like just we watched this episode. And we completely neglect the whole. I think it was the beginning with what's her name? The Ellie.
Ellie, the voice actor is in.
No,
is in
she's-
Oh yeah.
Ashley
She's the voice
Johnson,
actor.
my favorite.
Yes.
Voice actor. She's the face.
Okay, but the
It's
voice
Ellie.
actor.
No, I think-
it's
wasn't
her
that Ellie
voice.
Page?
She did the
Or
voice
Elliot
acting and the
Page?
face recognition. Yeah.
Wasn't that Elliot Page you voiced?
Huh?
Oh no. There was a controversy because at the time Ellie, I guess they changed Ellie's face after the fact, but Elliot Page at the time, Ellen Page, was like, that looks a little too much like me, and it wasn't.
Oh.
Yeah.
So who we saw is
Oh.
the voice and likeness and everything of Ellie.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is Ellie. Yeah.
We totally neglected that scene. We haven't said a single
Yeah.
damn thing about that.
Well, that was that was their nod to A Quiet Place. That's what I got
Yeah.
A Quiet Place
I was
vibes.
thinking of The Quiet Place when I was watching that too.
Emily Blunt in the bathtub giving birth.
But like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I didn't know that was her, so after we were watching the making of, I was like, "Oh, that's so poetic," you know?
Yeah,
she gives
she's
birth
like-
to Ellie. She gives
Yeah.
birth to Ellie.
Also, I found out that baby, like
That was
The-
real.
That was
They
a
were-
real baby.
That was
Twe-
a real fucking
They're-
I
baby.
knew it.
12
Real baby
day
and a real
old
giraffe.
twins.
Who
Oh,
would
yeah,
have
did
thought?
you, Mikey? You fucking knew it.
I knew it.
Yeah, you
They're-
little prick.
I knew that baby was a real
my baby,
giraffe.
That's how I knew.
Fucking.
They were 12-day-old twins that played
uh,
newborn Ellie.
it's
Wow.
insane.
12-day. Like, people are
Wow.
saying, like, where the fuck they find these?
Yeah.
Do they, like, when we just walk up to the hospital, like, we need that?
They
I
Hey.
didn't.
Cough it up.
they wanted to
I
give
didn't. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
they wanted to give the Olsen twins a run for their money. They thought you thought Mary Kate and Ashley were young when they started. Fuck.
But it's
Oh,
like, what the-
man.
I'm serious. Like, how the fuck do you get a 12? Like, that's not even 2 weeks old. Like,
How
you
much
just
money
walk,
do
like,
they
I
get,
need,
bro?
hey, I need that.
I don't
Like,
How
I didn't
much
know there
do
were
they
laws in place to allow that to happen.
know.
I don't know.
Don't forget, this is in Canada, so
True.
Right? Yeah, lawless up there.
yeah, fucking Canadians, you fucking Canadians, if you're watching. No, I'm just kidding.
Whoa,
All right.
jeez.
So
Oh,
we're gonna
no.
round it out here because we've gone way too long. Way too long. So we're
Really
gonna
quick,
just say,
before you end it, I just wanted to point out this picture is hilarious.
what is that?
What is
Oh,
that?
yeah, that's after that's a behind the scenes of the doctor.
Yeah.
Poor Jerry.
That's great.
Poor Jerry,
Uh,
man.
Let's see here. Let's see. Hard copy said good night. Got to crash. I'll check the replay tomorrow. We got Gavin saying, "Hey guys, haven't watched the show yet. Just wanted to say what's up."
What up?
And then we got our great
What
moderator
up?
Laren sending you the best vibes, dude. His dad is in the hospital, so sending you nothing but good vibes. But you've been in and out, watched pretty faithfully. Sorry I didn't say hi until now. You're good, dude. You got other stuff to do. Glad to see Mikey and Phil and James back on the channel. And we got Mama Blu-ray just got done watching The Whale. Phew.
Mama Blu-ray, it's 1:20 in the morning.
Why the
are you
fuck
watching
are
The
you
Whale?
watching The Whale? Anyways,
That's one that I need to watch.
I just picked that up today. Yeah, so I got to watch that. All right, so I just have a couple of these things queued up. We're just going to quickly comment on them. They're in no particular order. The Last of Us sales rise as much as 322% after the premiere episode.
Wow.
So I think that was obvious that was going to happen.
Yep.
Gamers, rise up. You know,
I talked about this during the stream. Clickers in The Last of Us are voiced by the same actors as the game. I think that's pretty freaking cool. Neil Druckmann isn't counting out The Last of Us Part 3. Quote, with The Last of Us, it's up to whether we want to continue it or not. Our process is the same thing we did when we did Part 2, which is if we can come up with a compelling story that has this universal message and statement about love, just like the first and second games did, then we will tell that story. So yeah, that's the interesting thing. And I'm just going to quickly put this up here because we're going to quickly talk about some spoilers for season 2. So season 2 is supposed to adapt Part 2. And initially they were kind of iffy on that. They were just like, yeah, it's going to adapt game 2. So it's like, okay, so game 1, season 1, game 2, season 2, where the fuck's game 3? Are you going to now somehow go beyond the game and now the game is going to catch up to you? That's the weird thing about this. But no, it's now been confirmed that season 2 and 3 are going to be game 2.
Oh.
So it's going to be told over multiple seasons. So
yeah, okay. I guess that would be the best way because with the two storylines going on, but you
don't want the show, at least I don't think, as if I were the creator of this, I don't want the show to now be ahead of the games. You know what I mean?
I'm pretty sure I read something from the showrunners themselves that they said explicitly they're not going to push the show beyond source material. That is what I read.
Yes, I also remember reading that. So we'll see. I don't know.
I'm gonna pee real quick.
Yeah. This one's pretty funny. Oh, let me get rid of the banner. Nick Offerman hasn't played The Last of Us because he quit games after Banjo-Kazooie.
Oh my god.
So
wow, was Banjo-Kazooie that bad?
There you go. I thought that was funny. and I love the source, Jimmy Kimmel Live. What's so funny?
I want to know what if his Banjo-Kazooie experience was so bad.
Well, you just got to watch his interview on Jimmy Kimmel. It was actually a good interview. So
what did Banjo-Kazooie do to Nick Offerman?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna wait till Mikey gets back to play a couple more of these. Oh, that's right. Yeah, you watch movies all night. They're snowed in. It's snowing up there.
Ooh.
That's right. It is snowing up there. Oh, welcome back, Mikey. This is what you missed. This is what you missed.
I saw the video where he talked about this in his interview. Yes. I thought it was funny.
What did Banjo-Kazooie do to Nick Offerman? What of it?
Yeah. This is also a cool one. This is Pedro Pascal took an Ambien and forgot he was cast in the last one.
I saw that too, yeah.
Oh my god.
And that is via The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon.
Very funny.
What a legend.
This one caused a little controversy when it was told, but then it has since been corrected, apparently, by the showrunners themselves. Apparently, the word zombie was banned on the set. The showrunners have said, no, that's not correct. We always called them zombies. So, yeah, we're not too sure what's going on with that one. I wanted to save that one for last because I find that one cool. This one, game developers tribute to wife makes it into The Last of Us. I thought that was pretty cool.
What does that say?
It says Bethany Clark Field, so that's the wife of the developer of the.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh. So nice little Easter egg right there.
If you were to put me as a nod in your game, make my name bigger.
Yeah. Makes
Really a poor gesture, to be honest.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm just kidding. I think that's very cute.
Let's see here. This one's cool. Neil Druckmann confirms The Last of Us season 2 will be adapted from part 2. We talked about that. That was I should have pulled that up sooner. This is a cool one. The behind the scenes, pretty much the only time that they're ever going to be in the same photo.
Oh,
Right there. And the last one, and then we're going to wrap the stream up. Bella Ramsey isn't afraid of backlash over LGBT The Last of Us characters. Quote, if you don't want to watch the show because it has gay storylines, because it has a trans character, that's on you. And you're missing out.
About that
It isn't going to make me afraid. I think that comes from a piece of defiance or a place of defiance.
Wait.
What?
Trans character?
There's
Yeah,
a
in the second game, there's a trans character.
Let's go live.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's also why. But for some reason, if I pull this up, it blocks the image. So
I thought you were talking about I thought we were talking about season 1
season
strictly.
two.
I was like,
Season
wait a minute.
of course,
Yeah, there's a lot more representation in the second one.
of course, I'm going to keep this up because, I mean, look, the elephant of the room. What are they going to do with Pedro in season 2? What are they going to do with Pedro?
I think he's given like a medication that allows him to live forever or something like that.
You know, are they going to Negan his ass? Because they Negan him in the game.
Yeah, I'm
That's
wondering
the verbiage we want to use. Yeah, he gets Negan.
He gets Neganed.
what if I don't know if that's how they would start off the first episode, or if they would.
Can you
just,
imagine?
if they're making the second game into 2 seasons, what
Can
if
you
they ended the
imagine?
first season with that?
Yeah.
That's literally what I was just about to say. Like, I think that could be like the season finale.
Him getting Neganed.
Like, I feel like they might develop, because it's not technically outside of source material if it's just more in the future. But what if they take season 2 and develop like in the events before the game? Because it's technically not entirely out of source material, maybe. Because I feel like it depends. How many episodes are season 2?
We have no intel on season 2.
All right.
Usually
I
HBO
heard
goes
it's
by
gonna
like 8 to 10.
the fact it's gonna be. Well, I would assume. I don't know actually.
My other thought would be for the 2 seasons, if they did one season with Ellie's storyline and the second one with Abby's, instead of doing it like where they cross. You know what I mean?
I feel like, and I don't know, I really at this point, in terms of being scared, like, oh, is it going to be good? At this point, me personally, I'm just trusting Neil and Craig. I think they've proven themselves.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to do whatever tells their story the best. But at least my gut instinct tells me I don't think we're going to get in the game. It makes sense because the game is literally challenging you to buy into Abby, because the whole point of part 2 is trying to empathize with a character, like the challenge of empathizing with a character that you are set up to hate from the very start. You're already endeared to Joel. You're already endeared to Ellie. So you come in from that perspective of you hurt me, and now, oh man, get ready because I'm coming. And then when
sorry, you were still continuing your thought. Go ahead.
Oh, I want to hear what you have to say. So I'll just
Whoa, guys, whoa.
Oh. I don't want to.
I am curious what you have to say, but I'll just kind of finish it by saying, when we get to Abby, it's like, well, yeah, but just because we've been with Ellie this whole time doesn't mean there wasn't a reason, and doesn't mean there's not a whole lot to understand about her character. And we're challenging the player to try to understand. And that's like the point. The only way this violence, this cycle we're going around stops is if we try to get to some form of acceptance or healing. And that's an incredibly hard thing to do. But with the show, it's like, I don't know if it's going to function well to do half and half. I feel like there's got to be some sort of maybe they'll even introduce Abby earlier. Like maybe we'll get a little bit of her before she gets to Jackson, because then I don't know. I really don't know. It's going to be tough, but I don't know if they can do half and half the same way.
I was predicting that they might have fleshed out like in the events like before the game, purely because like not only would it just like add to like the fact that they couldn't just split it half and half. Not that I know entirely what the second game's about, so I don't have much to add, but it also allows Bella Ramsey to get a little older, to look more the part
That's true.
of
She's 19 now, I think. So she's actually the age of Ellie at this point. But yeah.
the part 2 is 5 years in advance.
She's either 18 or 19. I don't know the exact month Ellie was born, but she's 14 in the first, and then it's like 4 years later. Yeah.
Big fan.
But
I know.
But
later
also
on in the game, there is another jump in time in the game where she's even
That's
older.
true. That's
So-
true.
it would, even though they could like, doll her up, make her look, because I mean they aged up Pedro.
Yeah.
It would just allow her to look less like she does now.
Sure. That's true.
But I was gonna say about the whole Abby, like getting introduced to a character that you would hate right off the bat. I feel like that's kind of what they were trying to do with Kathleen.
There,
Like kind
yeah.
of give like her like a little bit of like a give a
Yeah.
perspective from someone else, like see where they're coming from.
That's why I
You know
was
what I mean?
mentioning that they introduced this concept early with her.
Yeah. So I don't know. It'll be interesting how they do it.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I don't really like Mikey put it perfectly. I have faith now in these people. So whatever they want to do, I just hope it doesn't. I just hope it doesn't become riddled with filler, like actual filler.
I'd be surprised.
Not woke filler or anything like that, but true filler. Because when you look at The Walking Dead, it started out as a 6-episode season 1, then it went to I think 12 for season 2, and then by the time it got to 3, it was 16 episodes a season, and it's just like,
holy moly.
it's just like that's too much. Like you keep it tight, keep it 10 or less episodes every season, please.
Like,
Yeah.
I think that if you can skip an episode and still have an idea of what's going on, then I think it was unjustified. And I think even with like episode 3, even though it's pretty bottleneck, it still gives you, info that you need,
Yeah,
like either for story progression,
It's
character
required.
progression, whatever.
Yeah.
How
That's
they get the
my-
truck.
And they get the truck.
That's
so
my
it's like,
only. That's my only hope, is that season 2 is not riddled with filler. So we shall see. But that is it. That's it. 2.5 fucking hours later. Christ on a bicycle stick. I guess I'm Christophobic after saying that.
Way to go, dude.
canceled.
All right, Mikey. Where can people find you? Oh wait, you're not anywhere. so-
People,
I'm just kidding. Where can people find you if they want to find you? Which is kind of creepy.
hey, if you want to add me on Facebook, I'm Michael Edward Bonarelli Jr.
You don't even have me on Facebook.
I have an Instagram that I don't use.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm still gonna write a play, and eventually you can find that, and you'll all see.
Yep. And Philly, we can find you at French Fry Fritz on YouTube, and we can also find you at.
That's my TikTok.
There you
Nice.
go.
That's me.
Wow.
That's him.
That's you.
That's
Yeah.
him. He's a
He's a TikToker.
he's a talker of the tick.
I'm the Tiki Talkie.
Tiki-taki.
I'm also
Yeah.
on Twitter, since we talked about Twitter a little bit.
Yeah. So there
That's
you go.
my-
Oh wait, hold on. Wrong person.
What?
There you go.
Mr.
Yeah.
Sussy Baka.
I'm gonna follow you on Twitter.
Mr. Sussy Baka.
That's me.
What did that say? We all die? You either kill yourself
We
or
all
what?
die. You either kill yourself or get killed.
No, my favorite thing to say. My favorite thing to say to throw people off is, in this world, it's milk or be milked.
That's scary. Milk or be milked?
Wow, I've never heard of it put that way.
It's
That's so
I mean,
true. Wow.
that is
Eye-opening.
And on that note,
true. Milk or be milked.
milk or be milked. Hopefully everybody enjoyed the milking tonight.
I feel quite milked.
We fucking milked The Last of Us.
I'm thoroughly milked over here.
God damn it.
Oh man.
All right. Whoa. She's falling. Thank you for coming on here, guys. You know, I love you guys. You're my
Pleasure.
brothers from another mother's. Yep, look at that. That's a shot right there. And I'm sure we'll do it again. Like, hopefully this will be a tradition. We don't have a date yet, but when season 2 wraps, we're gonna do another one of these things, and hopefully we'll do it not so late, so we can actually have a lively chat room.
We'll plan it. We
11
got
p.m.
this.
was definitely the latest stream we've ever done, and yeah.
Well, the time change also makes it feel
And
like
the time change,
not
yeah.
that
And the time
bad.
change.
So
Anyways, having said that, we'll talk to everybody this coming Thursday, I think is our next live stream. We'll announce it on the page. And yeah, go check out these guys if you want to do that and if you're a creep. But stick around. We'll say our final goodbyes, but we're going to end it right now. So thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed The Last of Us Season 1. Can't wait for Season 2. And until we talk to you next time, keep being fans of something.